Chapter 115. The Calamity of 9 Dynasties, Harvesting Life Span. It had been half a month since Golden Spirit Venerable's attack. Since that day, the Supreme Sect remained in a state of readiness, summoning numerous disciples, and everyday disciples could be seen flying over Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley. Inside a pavilion in Mystic Valley, Guan was listening to Yi Lan speak about events in the immortal cultivation world, and she mentioned the Nine Nether Road. It said there is a road that leads directly to the underworld Nine Nether, called the Nine Nether Road. The Ephemera sect has opened the Nine Nether Road's entrance, located in the Great Zhao Dynasty's dustless wasteland. Now, cultivators from the Ephemera sect are heading to the dustless wasteland. Whether they are retreating or have other plans is unknown, but the Supreme Sect has already sent a batch of disciples to investigate. When talking about the Nine Nether Road, a trace of hope flickered in Yi Lan's eyes. Guan couldn't help but ask, "You seem to have a longing for the Nine Nether Road?" Yi Lan replied, "It said that the Nine Nether Road can cross boundless seas and reach another vast mortal world where immortal opportunities are hidden. To claim that I don't hope for it at all would be a lie. The Ephemera sect has recruited many cultivators through the Nine Nether Road, but I think going there with my qualifications would bring more disaster than fortune." She then shifted the conversation to Sword Venerable Fudao. According to information she obtained from the Law Enforcement Hall, Sword Venerable Fudao had displayed unmatched prowess throughout the sect, and it was said that without his intervention, the Supreme Sect might have faced catastrophe. While speaking, she also observed the changes in Gu An's expression. Gu An listened with great interest, as if Sword Venerable Fudao had nothing to do with him. An hour later, Yi Lan stood up to leave, as she had to return to the Law Enforcement Hall for her assigned duties. After seeing her off, Gu An walked into the forest and arrived at Yang Ni's garden. Yang Ni had gone to the outer sect again today. She was still investigating the identity of Sword Venerable Fudao. Guan dared not tell her that Su Shan was dead, so he let her continue. A year from now, when Su Shan doesn't come looking for her, she should understand that she's free. Guan looked at the ground where the ephemera flower grew and carefully observed it. He could feel that the ephemera flower was nurturing a unique kind of spiritual energy, but he couldn't yet determine whether this energy was good or bad. Every cultivator who joined the ephemera sect would receive a batch of ephemera seeds. Planting ephemera flowers was also a way to establish merit. Even the sect hierarch Zhong Liang didn't know the exact use of the ephemera flower. The ephemera sect members who remained in the Nine Dynasties territory were merely puppets of the main lineage. They knew nothing but each harbored their own expectations. Guan picked an ephemera flower and then entered the 8 scenic caves, arriving before the green vine tree. He placed the ephemera flower under the tree for the green vine tree to sense. "Take it away! Take it away!" The female voice of the green vine tree echoed, soft yet anxious. Guan asked in surprise, "You are a 7th level spirit tree. Are you actually afraid of a 6th level flower? Its aura is very annoying. I dislike it," the green vine tree responded intermittently. Upon hearing this, Guan raised his hand and put the ephemera flower back into his storage bag. He then sat down and summoned the storage bracelet from a distance, beginning to inventory the legacy of Golden Spirit Venerable. The 8 scenic caves contained many storage bags and rings, all spoils acquired by Guan through battles, and this was the place where he could store things best kept out of sight. However, after searching thoroughly, he didn't find any information about the ephemera flower and had to give up. But what he found instead was an elixir record, which he took out to examine carefully. He had already mastered the Taicang elixir path. His alchemy skills had reached the grandmaster level, and with an elixir recipe, he could effortlessly refine elixirs. Halfway through, his hand paused. Ephemera demon elixir? Winter eventually arrived, and snowflakes drifted down to the mortal world, continuously erasing its color. Tianya Valley. Guan had just harvested a batch of medicinal herbs, successfully obtaining nearly 10,000 years of lifespan, filling him with joy. Tianya Valley had special formations that prevented snow from accumulating, saving a lot of trouble. Guan instructed Sunda to move all the medicinal herbs into the storage building, then walked towards the courtyard where Luo Hun and Yi Luyun were drinking and discussing the Nine Nether Road. The Nine Nether Road has caught the attention of the cultivators from the 9 dynasties. It's said that representatives from each dynasty and sect have been sent to investigate, but the entrance to the 9 Nether Road is surrounded by ephemera sect cultivators, and they have all returned empty-handed. Luo Hun said with a frown. Lu Yun glanced at the approaching Guan, then said to Luo Hun, "This is also a good thing, at least the Taicang dynasty doesn't have to bear the pressure of the ephemera sect alone." Luo Hun nodded and said, "The force behind the ephemera sect will definitely come through the 9 Nether Road. This will be a calamity for the 9 dynasties. Furthermore, my sources report that ephemera flowers are appearing everywhere now. When they mature, they attract demons and ghosts. It's uncertain what the ephemera sect's true purpose is." Guan sat down nearby, listening to the two discuss matters of the immortal cultivation world. He curiously asked, "Are there any evil legends about the ephemera flower?" Previously, he thought the ephemera sect was merely competing for power with the supreme sect. Now, he realized their ambitions were far greater. Without understanding the true strength of the main lineage of the ephemera sect, Guan dared not enter the 9 Nether Road. Lu Yun frowned and said, "I have heard a legend that the ephemera flower is a flower of the underworld, symbolizing death and reincarnation. When ephemera flowers appear in the mortal world, it heralds an imminent catastrophe, causing many lives to perish." Luo Hun said, "The 9 dynasties have already issued orders to eradicate the ephemera flowers. Regardless of the ephemera sect's intentions, the widespread appearance of ephemera flowers must be stopped." Upon hearing this, Guan felt relieved. When the world is in trouble, the world should unite against it. He didn't want to bear the worry alone. Now that everyone is clearing out ephemera flowers, he might as well join in. Clearing ephemera flowers at night could earn him lifespan and save lives, benefiting in every way. Luo Hun and Lu Yun continued discussing the ephemera sect, while Guan listened, hearing many names through their conversation. The reappearance of the 9 Nether Road in the mortal world caused a great upheaval in the immortal cultivation world of the 9 dynasties. Many great cultivators who had been in seclusion began to emerge. The ephemera sect had become the scourge of the 9 dynasties. Some ancient beings who had lived for over 1,000 years declared they would annihilate the ephemera sect. This was advantageous, as the ephemera sect becoming a common enemy might cause those who had joined it to waver and seize the opportunity to break free. As evening approached, Guan returned to Mystic Valley. He scanned the area with his divine sense and had a strange expression. Yang and I had burned all the ephemera flowers she planted, leaving ashes behind in the garden. Could it be that Yang and I had come to her senses? Guan did not ask Yang and I about it and instead went back to his room. Late at night, Guan began to sweep through the Taicang dynasty with his divine sense, searching for ephemera flowers. One sweep revealed a shocking number of ephemera flowers. How did so many ephemera flowers sprout up all of a sudden? They weren't there last month. Guan immediately vanished from his room and went to eradicate the ephemera flowers. Within 2 steps, he arrived in a forest miles away, near a village where the ephemera flowers were mostly concentrated around the vicinity. He picked an ephemera flower, only to obtain a year's lifespan. These ephemera flowers grew extremely fast, quite unnatural, likely due to some force draining their potential, leaving them with little remaining lifespan. A year is still a year. Small amounts accumulate over time. Guan began to clear the ephemera flowers. At dawn, Guan went downstairs, feeling invigorated. Last night, he harvested over 40,000 years of lifespan, showing just how plentiful the ephemera flowers were. Practicing exercises with the disciples, Yang and I also arrived, though she looked listless, clearly burdened with worries. After the exercises, Yang and I approached Guan and said she was preparing to leave. "Where are you going?" Guan asked with a frown. Yang and I replied, "To handle some matters." Guan reminded her, the ephemera sect has been causing trouble recently, and the 9 dynasties are planning to jointly eliminate them. You should stay away from it. Yang and I nodded and said, "Don't worry, I have no ties with the ephemera sect." As she spoke, she stared intently at Guan. Some words were unspoken, but both of them understood the underlying meaning. 30 minutes later, Yang and I packed up and left. Guan stood by the window, watching her depart, feeling that the next time they met could be many years later. At the same time, on the distant dustless wasteland, ghostly energy filled the air, forming black clouds that covered the sky. Flocks of crows flew across the sky. Li Ye, carrying the North Sea heavy sword on his back, stood on a cliff, gazing at the vast sea of people below, frowning. He didn't expect the ephemera sect to have secretly recruited so many followers. That Nine Nether Road is very sinister, filled with immense ghostly energy and demon energy. The voice of the primordial ancestor echoed in Li Ye's ears. Li Ye looked towards the traveler of graceful crane sitting on a rock in the distance, holding a painting scroll and contemplating. No matter, when the primordial ancestor descends, they will all be wiped out in one fell swoop. Li Ye thought to himself. He now held great confidence in the mysterious demon shadow, believing the figure to be invincible in the present age. It's not that simple. No matter how powerful he is, his spiritual power will eventually deplete. Taking on the calamity of the 9 dynasties alone is almost impossible. If he were truly that formidable, he wouldn't need to practice the demon shadow divine skill of the 1000 Autumn Pavilion to conceal his identity. The primordial ancestor sighed. Li Ye felt displeased listening to this. Ever since encountering the ephemera sect, the primordial ancestor had become timid, no longer exuding the serene and profound demeanor he once had, shattering Li Ye's illusion. But recalling the primordial ancestor of Li family's admonition, Li Ye did not argue with the primordial ancestor's words. Just then, the ground began to tremble, startling Li Ye to soar into the air, whereas the traveler of graceful crane remained seated on the rock, unmoved. Li Ye looked towards the entrance of the 9 Nether Road, where he saw the array platform beneath the black cracks starting to crumble, a wooden branch breaking through the ground, followed by its trunk. The followers of the ephemera sect around the area all retreated. Under everyone's alarmed gaze, a towering tree burst from the ground, unmistakably an ephemera tree. This ephemera tree was even larger than the one Guan had eradicated, standing over 500 yards tall, its crown piercing the black clouds. The colossal ephemera tree standing behind the black crack appeared even more terrifying. Humph, they indeed planted an ephemera tree. A cold snort resounded across the heavens, chilling everyone to the core. Jiang Qiong turned her head, seeing a brilliant sword light sweep from the horizon, cutting through the sea of clouds, unstoppable, targeting the ephemera tree. A figure appeared out of nowhere before the ephemera tree, the masked woman in black, wielding a golden staff. With a forward thrust, boundless spiritual power erupted, forcibly halting the sword light miles away, distorting the surrounding space. Chapter 116 Kindred Spirits on a snowy night, deep in the mountains. Guan squatted down, picked the last ephemeral flower from the snow, and threw it into his storage bag. He only harvested 1 more year of lifespan, but he was not dissatisfied, because this month he had already harvested nearly 500,000 years of lifespan, pushing his total lifespan over 1,000,000 years again. It was so satisfying. After tonight, there would be no more ephemeral flowers on the surface in the Taicang dynasty. In 1 month he had picked over 1,000,000 ephemeral flowers, half of which hadn't even reached a year old, having just sprouted. If Guan didn't pick them, the cultivators of the Taicang dynasty would clear them, so he could only pick them whenever he saw them, gambling on his luck. He couldn't ignore the safety of the world and forbid others from clearing the ephemeral flowers, and he also feared the ephemera sect. He could slowly accumulate lifespan, but if the ephemera sect's plan succeeded and he had no power to resist, he would be ruined. In the dim forest, Guan stretched lazily and then walked towards the nearby city. It was almost dawn, and he planned to stroll around the city. Being cooped up in Medicine Valley all the time wasn't good. Occasionally getting out to see the scenery and the sights of the exotic realms could help him gain insights. Since he encountered Wuju's path enlightenment, Guan had been pondering enlightenment. He felt that enlightenment relied not only on opportunity but also on life experiences. The sun gradually rose. The city 100 miles away began to stir with noise, signaling the start of a new day. At noon, Guan sat in the second-floor tavern, drinking wine. He sat by the window, watching the street below, where martial arts heroes were performing their skills. Where there were people, there was the martial arts world. Even though everyone in the Taicang dynasty knew about the existence of immortal cultivation, 90% of people couldn't cultivate, which led to the birth of the martial arts world. They stood apart from the immortal cultivation world, having their own excitement and grievances. In the entire city, Guan only sensed 3 other cultivators, and like him, they were pretending to be ordinary people. The immortal cultivation world was facing the threat of the ephemera sect, with countless demons eyeing them greedily outside the 9 dynasties, while the ordinary people lived unaffected. Most of them only lived for a few decades, and by the time their lives ended, the great demon calamity might not have even arrived. This was the difference between immortals and mortals. Cultivators and mortals lived under different time rules. As Guan contemplated the difference between immortals and mortals, many emotions surged in his heart. He wanted to see if he could enter a state of enlightenment through such reflections. However, he sat there all day without entering the state of enlightenment, but he didn't feel it was a waste of time. Sitting quietly sometimes, not speaking and experiencing the countless facets of the mortal world had its own unique pleasure. Dusk settled again, and the snow that had stopped for a day began to fall once more. Guan stood up, left some silver coins, and then departed. He didn't leave the city directly but started to wander the streets, mingling with the crowds, letting the snow fall on him, immersing himself in the mortal world's hustle and bustle. Only at dawn the next day did Guan return to the valley. When he reached the 3rd Medicine Valley, he saw disciples gathered together, chattering excitedly. From a distance, he heard the disciples discussing the Supreme Elder. A Supreme Elder had returned. This news shook the entire Supreme sect. The identity of the Supreme Elder, who had lived for 1,500 years with cultivation reaching the heavens, had been revealed. At the moment, the Supreme sect was facing the threat of the ephemera sect, and the return of the Supreme Elder had greatly boosted the sect's morale. The righteous sect of the world regained its domineering aura. This Supreme Elder's title was Mystic Spring, also known as Xianquan. Guan guessed that he had returned because the Supreme Sect informed him that ancestor Xian Tian had been killed by the ephemera sect. After listening for a while, Guan continued to pick medicinal herbs. As he picked the herbs, he was still contemplating the insights from the past 2 days. Although he hadn't entered a state of enlightenment, his mystic heart had gained another talisman. The mystic heart could gather divine skills, and Guan at the Mahayana realm 9 layers had a divine skill brewing. Condensing divine skills depended not on cultivation level but on insights. He already had an idea, and as he continued to perfect it, the divine skill would naturally form. 3 days later, Guan arrived at the Outer Sect's book collection hall, where Elder Lu often personally received him as always. After not seeing him for several months, Guan noticed that he had aged significantly, his complexion also declining. Elder Lu, Foundation Establishment Realm 9th Layer 258/270/340, looking at the other's lifespan, Guan sighed internally. Elder Liu's cultivation level was obviously elevated by elixirs, so his lifespan was shorter than those of the same realm. Having known each other for many years, their relationship had become profound, beyond the bounds of age. Guan couldn't help but feel melancholic about his old friend's impending departure. However, he had long been prepared for this. He would eventually say goodbye to everyone around him. The path to longevity was destined to be lonely. Even if he found a way to extend the limit of lifespan in the future, it would just be an improvement. Making people immortal was incredibly difficult, and Guan couldn't transfer his lifespan to others. This anticipated loneliness didn't sadden Guan. Instead, it made him more resolute. The more so, the more he wanted to live on. He wanted to see the mortal world after 10,000 years, the splendors of 10 million years, and the vicissitudes of hundreds of millions of years. Elder Lu, this is the last volume of the Supreme Immortal Venerable. Guan took a book out of his storage bag and smiled. Elder Lu took the book and curiously asked, "I thought you would wait a few more years. How did it come out so soon?" The story needed to end, and coincidentally, it concludes with the protagonist joining forces with the people of the world to slay the demon and bring peace. Doesn't this align perfectly with the current world situation? Guan smiled. He paused for a moment and then said, although my qualifications are mediocre and I lack the strength to change the world, if I can inspire the people's fighting spirit, it will be a small contribution. Elder Lu did not open the book but praised, your books have already influenced many people. Before you, cultivators rarely read outside their practice. The name Pan and has taken on the aura of a sage. Elder Lu, you're exaggerating. Haha, what are you writing next? I don't plan to write anything for now. I will see what the future holds. Indeed, a masterpiece often comes about by chance and cannot be forced. The two chatted casually, with Elder Lu reminiscing about their first meeting. Guan listened intently and responded just as earnestly. After talking for 2 ancient hours, Elder Lu suddenly said, once the final volume of Supreme Immortal Venerable is arranged, I will resign from the elder position and prepare to leave the Supreme Sect to revisit my hometown. It has been 240 years since I joined the sect. I wonder if my hometown has changed. He already sensed his imminent end. People often wish to return to their roots before they die. Guan couldn't help but think of Cheng Xiandan, who also left alone before his end. I wish Elder Lu a smooth journey. Guan smiled gently as if unaware of Elder Liu's impending end. After bidding farewell to Elder Lu, Guan went to the elixir hall. He did not enter the hall but stood in the street, looking at its sign. Because of Elder Lu, he thought of Zhu Qinglu. Zhu Qinglu, an elder of the elixir hall, was also responsible for liaising with Guan. He too did not have many years left to live. This indicated that in the coming years, Guan would continuously say goodbye to old friends. In this place, Guan entered a state of selflessness. He didn't know how much time had passed. Suddenly, Guan awoke, his vision returning, seeing a disciple standing in front of him. It was none other than Wu Ju, who had previously achieved path enlightenment. Brother, are you all right? Wu Ju asked cautiously. He had passed by and was drawn by Guan's state, suspecting that Guan had entered a state of enlightenment similar to his own. As he got closer, he realized it was the disciple he had encountered the day his own enlightenment ended. Fate was indeed wondrous. That day, this disciple witnessed his enlightenment. Today, he witnessed the disciple's enlightenment. Wu Ju developed a fondness for Guan and had been guarding nearby to avoid interruption. He had stood for quite a while. When Guan suddenly opened his eyes, he thought he might have disturbed him and felt a bit uneasy. Guan had indeed entered a state of enlightenment earlier, and his mystic heart had gained another talisman. He looked at Wu Ju and smiled, I'm fine. Have we met before? Wu Ju smiled and said, yes, back then I was under the tree and you asked if I was all right, just like how I am asking you now. Guan cast a lifespan detection on him. Wu Ju, Foundation Establishment Realm 2nd Layer 63/280/1040, how did he gain another 500 years? Had this guy recently achieved enlightenment again? Who was this person really? This was ridiculously extraordinary. Han Ming had only achieved enlightenment once in his life, yet Wu Ju had done it twice in 2 months? You must have entered a state of enlightenment just now. Shall we find a place to talk? Wu Ju invited him eagerly. Guan didn't refuse as it suited him well. Then, he followed Wu Ju to his private courtyard. After closing the door, they sat down to converse. Wu Ju became quite enthusiastic, actively sharing his experiences. He had been an orphan since childhood, brought to the Supreme Sect by his master. His master, an outer disciple, found him hanging on a tree while on a mission. His parents had abandoned him but didn't want him to be eaten by wild beasts, so they hung him on the tree. In the Supreme Sect, Wu Ju's spirit root qualification was mediocre, but under his master's protection, he had a good life. It wasn't until recently that his master was killed by a cultivator of the ephemera sect on a mission, news he got from his master's companion. He felt as if the sky had fallen. The very next day, the ephemera sect attacked. Watching the cultivators fight, Wu Ju was perplexed, not understanding why people had to fight to the death. In his confused state, he achieved enlightenment. After sharing his story, he looked at Guan and asked, "Brother Gu, what led to your enlightenment?" Guan replied, "My enlightenment was also related to life and death. An old friend I've known for decades is approaching his end." He spoke calmly, but Wu Ju sensed that he must have been deeply saddened. However, the reason for Guan's enlightenment made Wu Ju feel a deeper connection with him. "Brother Gu, don't share your enlightenment experience with others. After my enlightenment, I found that my energy absorption speed increased, and even my comprehension improved. My master always taught me to be humble and keep things to myself," Wu Ju said earnestly. Guan nodded, smiling inwardly. It seemed Wu Ju's master was someone with similar beliefs. But he thought Wu Ju's enlightenment wasn't simply due to sudden clarity. Enlightening twice because of his master's death? It didn't make sense. Chapter 117. Kill him, using a sword? Guan exchanged epiphanies with Wu Ju, talking all the way until the next morning. Both of them benefited greatly. Before parting, Wu Ju reminded him once again not to reveal their epiphany to others. Seeing Wu Ju's caution, Guan smiled and promised. Wu Ju watched Guan leave, a smile spreading on his face. Having lived in the Supreme Sect for so many years, Guan was his first true friend. He had always been very self-conscious and didn't dare to communicate with others much. The only one he was close to was his master, so his master's death was a great blow to him. Wu Ju turned back to his room to continue cultivating, while looking forward to his next exchange with Guan. Guan stayed in the city for an hour before returning to the third Medicine Valley. After inspecting the valley, he hurriedly left again. After spending a short while in Mystic Valley, he came to the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. The Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion already had a lot of medicinal herbs planted, but it was still far from being filled. Guan planned to plant herbs above the 5th rank here, as it was his private territory, a place truly unknown to anyone. Though Jiang Qiong and Sky Dragon knew about the 8 scenic caves, only he knew about the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. During the planting process, he felt the presence of a battle coming from the north. The aura of the 9 Nether Road was still there, lasting for several months. The 9 dynasties continuously sent cultivators to fight, temporarily curbing the chaos caused by the Ephemera sect. This was normal. If the strength of the Ephemera sect far surpassed the 9 dynasties, they would have swept across them long ago. Guan did not pay attention to the distant battle and focused on planting herbs. He could stay overnight at the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion, as it was already the end of the month. If Leah wanted to contact him, he could not afford to miss it. Since Guan and Leah made the agreement, Leah didn't appear on a mountain top at the end of the month to reveal his aura, possibly due to circumstances beyond his control. Yet, Guan was not anxious. He would come to the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion at the end of every month and use his divine sense to search for Li Ya's aura in the north. Thus, Guan finished planting all the seeds he brought and set up a formation. When night fell, he performed the 9 extremes yin-yang body, transforming into a shadow and heading north. Under the night sky, Leah, carrying the North Sea heavy sword, reached the mountain top. He looked ahead. The mountains stretched endlessly. The night sky was covered with dark clouds, obscuring the stars and moon. How far is this place from the North Sea mountains? I wonder if the primordial ancestor can find me, Leah thought worriedly. The old ancestor's voice sounded in his mind. The great cultivators of the 9 dynasties continue to appear, yet they cannot budge that female cultivator. When the main branch of the Ephemera sect arrives, it will be even more dangerous. Even if the primordial ancestor comes, he cannot turn the tide. He too acknowledged that Guan was the primordial ancestor of the Li family, but he had no confidence in the ancestor. The primordial ancestor's cultivation level was higher than his own when he was alive, but the main branch of the Ephemera sect also had such people, and not just one. After hearing this, Leah fell silent. He turned his head, spreading his divine sense, fearing that followers of the Ephemera sect were tracking him. After confirming no one was following him, Leah put down the heavy sword and sat cross-legged. He placed the heavy sword on his legs, carefully stroking it, feeling the blade. He had already mastered a trace of the Taicang Divine shocking sword intent. The longer he delved into it, the more profound he found the swordsmanship. Once it was fully mastered, he would be unrivaled in his realm and even capable of cross-realm battles. The cold wind blew. Though there was no flying snow, it was still bone-chillingly cold. It was unclear how much time had passed. A figure appeared behind Leah, silently watching him. It was Guan, using the 9 extremes yin-yang body, observing Li Ya's swordsmanship accomplishments. Not bad, he didn't waste the swordsmanship accomplishment he had left behind. He is here. The old ancestor's voice sounded in Li Ya's ear, with a complex tone. Upon hearing this, Leah opened his eyes and turned his head. As soon as he saw Guan, he immediately stood up and saluted him with the North Sea heavy sword in hand. Now he could lift the North Sea heavy sword with one hand. Greetings, primordial ancestor. Regarding the title Leah used, Guan couldn't bother to explain. As long as Leah didn't guess his real identity, it was fine. Tell me about the ephemera sect, Guan said, his voice as usual with a changed tone. Leah began reporting the situation. Currently, all the followers of the ephemera sect were gathered at the entrance of the 9 Nether Road, numbering over 1 million. Every one of the ephemera sect's followers bore the ephemera seal, causing those wavering cultivators to be unable to escape. He mentioned the ephemera tree. Nearly every day, cultivators went to fight against the ephemera sect and ultimately died, becoming nutrients for the ephemera tree. Speaking of this tree, the fearless Li Ya's face too showed a trace of fear. Guan wasn't concerned about these. He was only curious about the strength of the strongest person in the main branch of the ephemera sect. Unfortunately, Leah didn't know either. After talking for half a day, it was all about the battles around the ephemera tree, without mentioning the situation inside the 9 Nether Road. I wondered why you came out secretly. Turns out it was to pass on information. It seems your backer is also helpless and unable to respond to you. A contemptuous laugh echoed, startling Leah. His face turned pale. He looked behind Guan, only to see a scholar-dressed traveler of graceful crane walking out from the forest. Guan, with his back towards him, did not turn around. Shadow magic skill, I wonder which master from the 1000 Autumn Pavilion you are? Traveler of graceful crane asked with a smile as he took off the book box behind him, placed it in front, and began to search inside it. Before Guan spoke, Leah anxiously shouted, "Primordial ancestor, he is Traveler of graceful crane. It's him who previously captured my old ancestor's soul. He is very strong, you must not be careless." Guan turned his head slightly, glancing at Traveler of graceful crane. Traveler of graceful crane, Unification Realm 9th Layer 1209/3020/3030 Unification Realm 9th Layer. No wonder he spoke so arrogantly. With such cultivation, he could indeed roam freely in the Taicang dynasty. Guan slowly turned around, looking at Traveler of graceful crane rummaging through his things, not in a hurry, watching him perform. A Grand Unification Realm 9th Layer cultivator needed to search for something by hand? This guy clearly thought he had Guan in the palm of his hand, deliberately messing with Guan and Li Ya's minds. Primordial ancestor? So you are family. In that case, he'll torture you to death in front of him to put an end to his wild thoughts. Traveler of graceful crane sneered coldly. Upon hearing this, Leah immediately moved to stand beside Guan, offering the North Sea heavy sword to him. To kill him, do I need a sword? Guan's hoarse voice sounded, making Leah pause, causing Traveler of graceful crane to halt his search. Traveler of graceful crane looked up at Guan. The two stood on a slope, with Guan standing higher. He couldn't see Guan's true face, but for some reason, looking at the opponent's posture gave him an uneasy feeling in his heart. He suddenly pulled out a scroll from the book box. When the scroll unfurled, terrifying magma erupted, blocking out the sky and blotting out the sun with a mighty force. Leah stood dazed, unable to react. Guan swiftly raised his right hand, flicking his finger to release a beam of light. It pierced through the terrifying magma, forcefully piercing Traveler of graceful crane's throat, blood spurting from the back of his neck. Traveler of graceful crane's eyes widened in disbelief. As his body leaned backward, A foot stepped on his back. Boom! The mountain quaked. Under Li Ya's watchful eyes, the formidable traveler of graceful crane, who once made him despair, was trampled under the foot of the primordial ancestor, stone debris flying everywhere. Ugh! Traveler of graceful crane spat out a mouthful of reverse blood, desperately finding his spiritual power suppressed within his body, incapable of manifesting outside or casting spells for escape. He had never felt such suppression. Even a great mystic heart realm cultivator couldn't suppress him like this. Could it be that he had reached above the 5th level of the mystic heart realm? Traveler of graceful crane felt an absurdity. Boom, boom, Guan started stomping, foot by foot, on Traveler of graceful crane's back. More blood pooled beneath him, forming cracks in the mountain surface. Shrouded in dark purple demonic chi, Guan appeared like a demon god from the netherworld. Even Li Ya couldn't help but feel a tinge of fear in his heart. The primordial spirit of the old ancestor within him was also silent. After 9 stomps, Traveler of graceful crane had lost his combat ability. Guan's right foot ignited with Taicang true fire, attaching it to Traveler of graceful crane's body. He then stepped back, using his left hand to capture Traveler of graceful crane's primordial spirit, while his right hand picked up the book box beside him. Traveler of graceful crane's body was swiftly incinerated to ashes. Guan's figure vanished, leaving only a sentence. From now on, survive at your best. There's no need to seek me out again. Li Ya stood on the slope, gazing at the ashes of Traveler of graceful crane, speechless for a long time. After quite a while, he couldn't help but ask in his mind, do you still think the primordial ancestor has no chance against the main branch of the ephemera sect? The old ancestor didn't respond. Inside the mystic heaven cave mansion, Guan sat at a stone table, performing the soul-capturing skill on Traveler of graceful crane's primordial spirit. Indeed, Traveler of graceful crane was not from the 9 dynasties. He came from the main branch of the ephemera sect, having arrived early on. 300 years ago, the main branch of the ephemera sect descended upon the land of the 9 dynasties. He and several fellow disciples scattered. The others enacted the primary branch's major plan, searching for suitable puppet sects, while he traveled alone, seeking immortal opportunities. His actions were unique due to his core disciple status within the primary branch, possessing a prestigious background. 200 years ago, he encountered the mighty LV Baitin, realizing he wasn't an opponent, so he avoided it, hiding away for 200 years. The main branch of the ephemera sect came to the land of the 9 dynasties knowing it would be devoured by demons. In their view, the human race here was doomed and better be fed to the ephemera tree. The ephemera tree craved the spiritual power and flesh of human cultivators. If it could devour the humans of the 9 dynasties, it could transcend the heavenly destiny, reaching the legendary 9th rank. At that time, the ephemera tree could open the 9 nether road anytime, providing convenience for the primary branch of the ephemera sect to act, traveling wherever they wanted. Through Traveler of graceful crane's memories, Guan learned about the hierarchy within the primary branch of the ephemera sect. Previously, he had slain Golden Spirit Venerable, one of the 100 venerables within the primary branch, each with a mystic heart realm cultivation level. The master of the primary branch had, 500 years ago, transcended the mystic heart realm to enter the legendary Mahayana realm. In other words, there was only one Mahayana realm cultivator in the primary branch of the ephemera sect. 500 years could allow that branch master to reach the 9th layer of the Mahayana realm? Guan pondered silently. Several ancient hours later, he withdrew his divine sense, then finished Traveler of graceful crane off, claiming 209 years of lifespan. Guan's right hand rested on the book box, lightly tapping it with his finger, eyes flickering. No more waiting. Tomorrow he would resolve the ephemera tree below the 9 nether road to prevent any long-term worries. Anyway, if he didn't act, the primary branch of the ephemera sect wouldn't just let it go. Chapter 118 Sword Venerable Fudao strikes. Wuchen Wasteland. At dawn. Because of the overcast clouds in the sky, This wasteland had never seen the sun or moon. On top of a broken cliff, dozens of cultivators gathered, including Ji Hantian, the vice sect leader of the Supreme Sect. They looked towards the horizon, with worry etched on their faces. That female demon is simply too powerful. Without a mystic heart realm cultivator, no matter how many of us join forces, it will be useless. There is no mystic heart realm cultivator in our dynasty. Our sect once had one, but he left 800 years ago and has been hard to find. How many mystic heart realm great cultivators stand behind the ephemera sect? We have nowhere to go and cannot retreat. They were all leaders of various sects, all at the unification realm. Before the ephemera sect wreaked havoc, each of them was a legendary figure in the 9 Dynasties' immortal cultivation world, possessing immense power to turn the tides. Yet now, after gathering for many days, they were at a loss, not daring to act rashly. Many unification realm cultivators had already died under the ephemera tree. Some had acted alone, and they had also launched total assaults, all ending in failure, the terror of the mystic heart realm paralyzing them. Ji Hantian suddenly raised his right hand. A ring on his index finger emitted a shimmering light that penetrated his brow. His face lit up with joy. Then he lowered his right hand and spoke. "Everyone, our Supreme Sect's Supreme Elder, Grandmaster Shen Quan, has returned and is on his way here. When he arrives, we can follow him in launching an attack. Our Grandmaster Shen Quan has already attained the mystic heart realm." This statement made all the sect leaders look at him with matching excitement and joy. For a moment, the praises for the Supreme Sect rose one after another, making Ji Hantian stand up proudly. Although the Supreme Sect was the strongest sect in the Taicang Dynasty, it might not rank among the top 3 within the 9 dynasties. If they could achieve indelible merit in facing the calamity of the ephemera sect, they would surely become famous, attracting more families and cultivators in the future. The atmosphere on the cliff improved, and everyone saw hope in defeating the demon of the ephemera sect. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, under the rolling overcast clouds, hundreds of zhang tall ephemera trees stood like a gigantic demon, towering and ferocious. Vines hung down from the branches of the ephemera tree, most of them with corpses tied to the ends. Some were not completely dead, their bodies trembling slightly, eyes filled with blood, veins bulging in their necks, a pitiful sight. Amid the crowd, Jiang Qiong's delicate brows furrowed as she looked at the hanging cultivators. She couldn't help but touch a blood-colored ephemera seal on her wrist, her heart filled with worry. If this continued, she felt she would either be killed by the 9 Dynasties cultivators or be absorbed by the ephemera tree. She couldn't just sit and wait for death. But what could she do? The ephemera seal restricted her freedom. Jiang Qiong looked at the middle-aged man beside her and transmitted her voice. "Father, do you still trust the ephemera sect?" The middle-aged man sitting next to her was her father, Jiang Lang, one of the pavilion masters of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. He had not only brought Jiang Qiong but also many disciples to join the ephemera sect. Jiang Lang's face was sullen, and he didn't answer. How could he not know he had been played, but what could he do now? There were countless corpses of Unification Realm and Void Crossing Realm cultivators hanging from the ephemera tree. With his abilities, how could he escape? He turned to look in another direction, where 4 cultivators sat on the outskirts of the ephemera sect's million followers, their auras so oppressive that no one dared to act recklessly. At present, only those closely connected to the ephemera sect's higher-ups or trusted individuals could leave. Jiang Lang was neither. He belonged to sect hierarch Zhong Liang. He should have enjoyed authority, but with Zhong Liang's fall, his followers were scattered and imprisoned. Even if accepted, they weren't trusted. Seeing her father's expression, Jiang Qiong knew she couldn't count on him. Indeed, from the beginning, the only person she could rely on was herself. Jiang Qiong looked back at the ephemera tree, her gaze becoming resolute. She absolutely couldn't fall here. Just as this thought surfaced, a burst of light illuminated her face, making her eyes widen. Not just her, but everyone was illuminated. The rolling clouds above the ephemera tree suddenly dissipated, revealing a nearly 1,000-mile-wide opening, with sunlight and scattered snowflakes falling through. The black-clad woman sitting on the array platform looked up, her eyes flashing sharply through her mask. Not just her, but the 4 great cultivators at the edges of the million-strong ephemera sect also looked up. Under the sunlight, the ephemera tree began to tremble, seemingly disliking the sunlight. "Who are you who dares to reveal yourself?" The black-clad woman stood up and shouted loudly, her cold voice echoing through the heavens and earth. A figure appeared out of nowhere high above the ephemera tree. It was Guan, performing the 9 extremes yin-yang body. Guan looked down at everyone below, catching sight of Jiang Qiong. From high above, the millions of followers of the ephemera sect looked like prisoners, sitting on the ground, with some cultivators standing on the outskirts, clearly there to guard the seated followers. Trusting the ephemera sect led to such a result. It truly was tragic. Guan swiftly cast lifespan detection on one after another. A 2nd layer mystic heart realm, and 4 9th layer unification realm. The ephemera tree beneath him had the same limited lifespan as the previous ephemera tree he had seen, and it was only a bit over 500 years old. To grow so quickly, how many people had it consumed? Guan raised his right hand, conjuring a cyan sword shadow in his palm. "Bold!" The black-clad woman shouted angrily, killing intent flashing through her eyes as she appeared beside Guan in one step, a blood-red sword in her hand, slashing at Guan. The sword strike seemed to unleash thousands of evil ghosts towards Guan, blood light covering the entire sky in an instant. But it was only for an instant. Boom! The black-clad woman was sent flying, crashing through the ground after passing over the heads of 1 million followers, her life or death unknown. This scene shocked everyone. How could it be? Everyone cried out in their hearts. During this time, the black-clad woman had fully demonstrated her immense power, appearing nearly invincible. No matter how strong or renowned the attacking cultivators were, they were easily suppressed by her. Such a powerful being had no way to resist in front of this person? Guan raised his left hand, and his index finger shot out a radiant beam, piercing through the swirling dust towards where the woman had fallen. An alert appeared in front of Guan. "You successfully seized 47 years of Night Cultivator Fairies, 2nd layer Mystic Heart Realm, lifespan. Not bad." Guan's left hand reached out again, capturing the mystic heart of the Night Cultivator Fairy from afar. The mystic heart scattered the rolling dust, fell into his hand, and then he stored it in his storage bag. The 4 9th layer unification realm great cultivators guarding the edges of the million ephemera sect followers saw the situation was dire and immediately fled in different directions. Guan raised his hand, pointing 4 times. Breaking path divine light. 4 radiant beams shot out like falling stars. The gazes and divine senses of the million followers couldn't capture their trajectories, but everyone felt those 4 were doomed. The world fell into silence. "The Thousand Autumn Pavilion has such a figure," Jiang Lang murmured. He was still in shock. Jiang Qiong was equally frightened. She was secretly glad she hadn't caused trouble in the Thousand Autumn Pavilion earlier. Sequential alerts appeared before Guan. He released the cyan sword shadow in his right hand, pointing the sword tip at the ephemera tree. Feeling the threat, the ephemera tree trembled, releasing the corpses as the vines floated upwards. Under the watch of the million followers of the ephemera sect, a terrifying, twisted face emerged from the main trunk of the ephemera tree. "What is that? A demon tree. It really is a demon tree." That face, we were deceived. No. Impossible. A deafening uproar erupted among the million followers. Unlike Jiang Qiong, most had come this far still harboring illusions or needing to cling to hope. Rumble. The ground quaked as enormous vines burst through and struck at Guan, startling the crowd to soar into the sky, with some taking the chance to flee. Yet there were also those, including Jiang Qiong, who courageously charged into the 9 Nether Road. The cyan sword shadow in Guan's palm burst forth with terrifying sword intent, descending like a divine weapon with dazzling light. That sword intent. Sword Venerable Fudao. During her flight, Jiang Qiong looked up at Guan in horror. Sword Venerable Fudao was that powerful. The cyan sword shadow, carrying the sword intent of the Taicang Divine shocking sword, fell. Cultivators barely lifted off, were unable to flee the battlefield before the cyan sword shadow descended on the ephemera tree. This time, the sword intent was overwhelming, forcefully suppressing the ephemera tree, reducing it to ashes from top to bottom. The sword shadow hit the ground, shattering it, creating faults spreading rapidly in all directions, resembling an expanding spider web from the sky. Guan watched Jiang Qiong escape into the Nine Nether Road without stopping her. After today, Jiang Qiong would struggle to survive even if she stayed. He sensed dozens of Unification Realm auras rapidly approaching from a distance and immediately vanished. As for the million followers, Guan had considered slaughtering them but feared many, like Yang Anai and Li, had been deceived or forced into the sect, making causality too complex, and he feared killing innocents. Wanton slaughter would be no different from the ephemera sect. He didn't want to be seen as a great demon and later besieged by all. Yet, even so, his earlier sword had still killed many cultivators. That was not Guan's concern. Everyone must bear the consequences of their choices. Not killing them all was his way of exercising benevolence. Alert after alert appeared madly before Guan, who vanished from the spot. The ground continued to crack, dust rolling into the sky, billowing and vast. Ji Hantian and the others rushed in from afar. The wind mixed with dust blew in their faces, and their divine senses had already detected the destruction of the ephemera tree. Haha, our supreme sect's sword Venerable Fudao has taken action. Ji Hantian couldn't help but laugh loudly, boasting of sword Venerable Fudao's strength. Another supreme sect's cultivator? The sect leaders were moved. The previous sword intent had frightened them, making them feel it was impossible to reach such a height in a lifetime of cultivation. After the ephemera sect's destruction, they had to reassess the F. Chapter 119. Sword Venerable's Prestige. Lu Lingjun's guest Guan walked into Mystic Valley, scanning the disciples' cultivation along the way. He spotted Chu Jingfeng meditating under a tree with a wooden sword standing before him. He suddenly became interested and turned around to walk over. "Brother Chu, what are you doing?" Guan asked curiously. Chu Jingfeng opened his eyes and replied, "I'm contemplating my swordsmanship, trying to create a new sword technique." "Creating a sword technique? That's amazing. Why are you using a wooden sword? If you need a real sword, you can ask me." Guan praised him and then took out a treasure sword from his storage bag. Chu Jingfeng's storage bag had long been confiscated, and the spirit stones he earned doing odd jobs were kept in his house. Facing the gift of the sword, Chu Jingfeng shook his head and said, "No need. I want to comprehend pure swordsmanship, deriving it from the heart rather than from the sword itself." It sounded quite profound. Guan put away the sword and said with a smile, "If you need anything, just come to me anytime." After speaking, he headed towards his attic. Chu Jingfeng watched Guan's back, sensing his joyful mood. Though he is weak, he is always cheerful. Chu Jingfeng watched Guan's back silhouette silently, feeling a tinge of envy in his heart. Born into a wealthy family, he ended up imprisoned due to the family's power struggle. If he had the choice, he would prefer starting as a servant disciple, to avoid heavy burdens. Chu Jingfeng stopped thinking about it and resumed his sword enlightenment. After cultivating Taoist expansion skill, his cultivation level couldn't increase. He was too lazy to practice other spells, deciding to focus solely on sword enlightenment. Just like that mad swordsman Han Ming of Great Yu, who after attaining sword enlightenment, became unstoppable. Elsewhere, back in his attic, Guan sat at his desk and brought up his attribute panel. His lifespan had skyrocketed by more than 300,000 years. This meant that during the extermination of the ephemera tree, he had killed thousands of ephemera sect cultivators. Guan suddenly understood why there were so many demon cultivators. He tried hard to calm his emotions and maintain his original heart, not falling into the demon path. It's still better to grow flowers and herbs. The lifespan provided by Mystic Heart Realm great cultivators is equivalent to that of fifth-tier medicinal herbs. For him, the benefits of killing enemies were not much different from harvesting herbs and might even invite potential trouble. Guwen took out the Green Hero travelogue to shift his attention. Soon, he immersed himself in the love and grudges between the Green Hero and his beloved. Meanwhile, in the dustless wasteland, many cultivators flew through the air. Some were arriving, others were escorting ephemera sect cultivators away. On a cliff, Ji Hantian stood behind an elder in a white robe, respectfully recounting the earlier battle. That's how it happened, elder. It was all thanks to Sword Venerable Fudao. Who exactly is he among the supreme elders? The mystic heart realm great cultivator had no way to resist him. Ji Hantian asked, trying hard to suppress his excitement. The intervention of Sword Venerable Fudao had thrilled him greatly and made him proud. Recalling the shocked expressions of other sect leaders, he felt immensely satisfied. The elder standing before him, who had just returned, was Supreme Elder Xian Quan. Supreme Elder Xian Quan remained silent, closing his eyes as well. Ji Hantian did not disturb him, thinking that the Supreme Elder was contemplating who Sword Venerable Fudao might be. Little did he know, Supreme Elder Xian Quan was deeply shocked inside. Which Supreme Elder in the Supreme Sect was this powerful? However, he had heard stories of Sword Venerable Fudao upon his return, which at least suggested the other party's heart was aligned with the Supreme Sect, most likely being a member, though not a Supreme Elder. He had encountered similar situations overseas, where extraordinary talents would emerge in those super sects, stepping forward during the sect's crisis. This was known as the sect's great fortune. Could it be that the Supreme Sect also had such great fortune? Supreme Elder Xian Quan slowly opened his eyes and said, Sword Venerable Fudao hides his identity because he doesn't want to be disturbed. The more this is the case, the less we should probe into his identity. We should even find ways to protect his information. But his achievements must be widely publicized to strengthen his sense of belonging to the Supreme Sect. Otherwise, over time, he may leave, feeling that the Supreme Sect has no benefits for him and only drags him down. Elder, I think the same. I've already sent a message to the sect leader, asking him to publicize this matter, Ji Hantian said with a smile. The Supreme Sect had survived another catastrophe. According to ancient laws, it would rise triumphantly after a disaster. Go about your business. They'll check the entrance to 9 Nether Road. Perhaps this path could become an opportunity for the Supreme Sect. After saying this, Supreme Elder Xian Quan vanished into thin air. Ji Hantian turned around and left, preparing to discuss with other sects how to handle 9 Nether Road. As the year's end approached, Guwen went to the outer gate city to find Wu Ju, bringing wine and roasted chicken. Seeing him, Wu Ju was delighted, pulling him inside. After closing the door, Wu Ju excitedly said, Brother Gu, why are you here? This was the first time anyone had voluntarily visited him. How could he not be happy? Just to see you, fearing you might be bored. Guwen replied with a smile, though he truly wanted to see if Wu Ju had had any further enlightenment. Unfortunately, he had not. Guwen wished to witness Wu Ju's continuous enlightenment, surpassing the Supreme Sect's geniuses. For him, enlightenment was optional. After all, he could increase his lifespan through other means. He considered enlightenment out of boredom and to see if he could find a way to help extend the lifespan of those around him. So far, enlightenment seemed quite difficult, not achievable merely through deep experiences or rich emotions. Wu Ju placed bowls and chopsticks on the table, while Guwen set down the wine and roasted chicken, observing the room and noting no changes. Wu Ju's cultivation had risen from Foundation Establishment Realm 2nd layer at the end of his enlightenment to Foundation Establishment Realm 4th layer. How long had it been? His talent seemed higher than that limited by extreme longevity. Judging by his living environment, it appeared Wu Ju had not sought another master. By the way, have you heard about Sword Venerable Fudao's deeds? He single-handedly defeated the Ephemera sect, unbelievably. Thousands of fellow sects couldn't vanquish that demon, but he killed it in 2 moves. He's even more impressive than Gu Yu from the Supreme Immortal Venerable. While pouring wine for Guwen, Wu Ju said with a smile. The Supreme Sect was already abuzz with Sword Venerable Fudao's legend, and not just Wu Ju, servant disciples from the Third Medicine Valley and Mystic Valley were discussing it. Visiting Tianya Valley a few days ago, Luo Hun had also inquired about this. Of course I've heard, truly impressive. I wonder what he's like in person, Guan said with a laugh. The two began discussing Sword Venerable Fudao, toasting back and forth, quickly finishing a jar of wine. Wu Ju pulled out a secret book from his pocket, saying, "Brother Gu, this is a fist technique I exchanged for all my savings. Take a look and practice it when you get home." Guan hurriedly refused. "How can I accept this? No, I can't take advantage of you." "What do you mean, take advantage? You're my only friend, and learning some combat techniques is never a bad thing. I've come to realize that the immortal cultivation world is rarely peaceful for decades, with conflicts between righteous and demonic paths erupting frequently." Wu Ju said earnestly. Hearing this, Guan had no choice but to accept. He began to read through the fist technique. Sunset Fist. After a quick look, Guan memorized it all and returned the secret book to Wu Ju. Wu Ju was stunned, asking, "So quickly? You don't like it?" Guan replied, "I'm not fond of fighting. This fist technique is too aggressive for me." Wu Ju smiled wryly. "When cultivators fight, it's a matter of life and death unless you stay in the Supreme Sect forever." "Huh, I really want to stay here forever." "Fine then." Not wanting to take advantage of him, Guan took out a swordsmanship book, saying, "I have a sword technique here, would you like to see?" "No need. Though I respect Sword Venerable Fudao, I don't like using swords. Or rather, I don't like using magic artifacts in battle. I only trust my fists and feet." Wu Ju waved his hand, displaying his muscular arm. Guan chuckled and took out the Gale Shadowless Leg secret book, saying, "How about this one?" Wu Ju glanced at it, instantly unable to look away. "It sounds impressive, must be valuable? No worries, take it. If you become important in the Supreme Sect one day, don't forget about me," Guan said. Hearing this, Wu Ju hesitated no longer, eagerly taking the book and reading it intently. Guan picked up his wine bowl, gazing at the focused Wu Ju. Who could imagine his demeanor 1,000 years from now? With the arrival of spring, the snow season extended, not ceasing even by the time of the spring festival. The Third Medicine Valley became lively, with the attic area adorned with lanterns and festive decorations. The disciples were busy, their faces beaming with smiles. Guan sat at a long table in the courtyard, watching the bustling disciples with a smile. Having many people was good, no need for him to toil. Guan glanced at Lu Lingjun, who was making paper cuts among the female disciples, looking virtuous and gentle, contrasting her Unification Realm 9th layer cultivation level. Xiao Chuan approached excitedly. "Senior brother, they're building a statue of Sword Venerable Fudao next to the Heavenly Repair platform. It's grand. You must see it next time you go." He had also started cultivating the Taoist expansion skill, though less enthusiastically than Chu Jingfeng or Lu Jiujia. He had accepted his aptitude and enjoyed life honestly. Guan could only respect this, as forcing cultivation was not possible. Besides, practicing the skill seriously only delayed aging, not prevented it. "Is that so? I should indeed take a look." Guan raised his eyebrows and smiled. The Supreme Sect's attitude pleased him, giving him due respect. Xiao Chuan continued narrating changes in the outer gate as Guan sensed LV Beiyin flying over. Soon, LV Beiyin landed. Xiao Chuan immediately got up and left, not daring to intrude. "Let's talk inside," LV Beiyin said, making his way into the attic. Lu Lingjun glanced over, curious. What was Gu An's true identity? Why did this Unification Realm 9th layer great cultivator constantly seek him? Could Guan be hiding his cultivation, not as weak as he appeared? These thoughts swirled in Lu Lingjun's mind, urging her to find an opportunity to talk with Xiao Chuan. Meanwhile, inside, Guan shut the door, and LV Beiyin placed a restriction, then sat down asking, "There's a great opportunity, do you want it?" Chapter 120 Sword Intent shocks the sect. No. Guan refused outright, thinking, How could the Supreme Sect have any opportunities after just experiencing a calamity? LV Baton was stunned for a moment, not expecting such a blunt refusal. Instantly annoyed, he said, "You brat, I haven't even told you what the opportunity is." Guan sat down and said, "I won't be the sect leader, I won't write books, and I won't entertain disturbances from the holy sons or holy daughters anymore." LV Baton laughed in anger after hearing that. "In your eyes, am I that kind of person? I just don't want trouble. Did I wrong you? If so, I apologize." Guan said seriously. LV Baton's face froze, then he gave a faux cough and said, "Naturally, you have wronged me. I came to find you for other matters." "What matters?" "You must have heard of the Nine Nether Road. It has now been sealed off by the 9 dynasties working together, with each sect sending cultivators to guard it. Even the main lineage of the Ephemera sect would find it hard to shake. Now, the sects of the 9 dynasties are leading disciples to train on the 9 Nether Road, where demons roam freely. You can kill demons and seize treasures. Moreover, the spiritual energy is rich, making it suitable for cultivation." LV Baton spoke slowly, which indeed surprised Guan. He hadn't expected the 9 Nether Road to be turned into a training ground like a secret realm. Guan asked, "Isn't the 9 Nether Road supposed to be dangerous?" "It is dangerous, so great cultivators will lead the disciples for training. I want to give you a spot so that when you enter the 9 Nether Road, someone will protect your life. You can cultivate, kill demons, or search for treasures. No matter what you do, someone will have your back. Isn't that a great opportunity? Furthermore, the Supreme Sect plans to build a city inside the 9 Nether Road for disciples to rest and cultivate." LV Baton spoke passionately, full of ambition. He believed that if he developed the 9 Nether Road well, the Supreme Sect would soar to new heights, possibly entering its most prosperous period ever, and his status in the sect's history would rise accordingly. Guan listened carefully and thought it indeed seemed feasible. LV Baton seemed intent on changing a long-standing trend where cultivators would leave the 9 dynasties' lands after reaching the unification realm to seek opportunities elsewhere. LV Baton wanted to enhance the foundation of the Supreme Sect, making it stronger so future disciples wouldn't need to venture out for opportunities. The 9 Nether Road was his first step. He also planned to establish a sea route, led by the newly returned elder Xianquan. He spoke more and more passionately, almost declaring his intention to unify the continent. Guan listened with great interest, admiring LV Baton's vision. The stronger the Supreme Sect, the better it would be for him to benefit from its shade. After a long while, LV Baton finally ended his endless speech and looked at Guan asking, "So, will you go?" Guan shook his head and said, "I won't go. I need to stay and look after the Medicine Valley. Someone else can look after it as well." "No, I can't relax. Honestly, I'm scared. I always feel the 9 Nether Road is very dangerous, and my combat ability is weak. I won't go. How about this, I give my spot to someone else? Is that okay?" "You don't want to go, yet you want to give away your spot?" "I have contributed to the Supreme Sect too. This huge Medicine Valley, I didn't embezzle anything. Shouldn't you reward me?" Looking at Guan's righteous look, LV Baton shook his head and smiled. After thinking about it, he still agreed to Guan's request. Giving the spot to someone close to Guan would still increase Guan's sense of belonging to the Supreme Sect. LV Baton didn't believe he couldn't hand off the sect leader position. He was determined to give it to Guan. In the long run, Guan would eventually accept it. Thinking of this, LV Baton smiled, filled with anticipation. How do you think the Supreme Sect can become the #1 sect of the 9 dynasties? LV Baton suddenly asked, wanting to test Guan while guiding him toward the mindset of a sect leader. Guan answered directly, "Using force won't work, it easily accumulates hatred. We can use cultural infiltration. Just like the previous Outer Sect conference, the Supreme Sect could host various conferences in the future, such as formation, alchemy, sword competition, talisman crafting, etc. We should strive to make the Supreme Sect hold grand events that attract the attention of the 9 dynasties every few years. The initial investment might be huge, but once people get used to it, they will gradually recognize the supreme sect as the orthodox sect. Imagine if you just stepped onto the path of the sword cultivator and heard that the supreme sect's sword competition was a must-attend event, an opportunity to make a name for oneself. You would subconsciously think that the supreme sect holds a high position in the sword Dao. When people frequently mention the supreme sect, or when the supreme sect becomes the most frequently mentioned sect by the populace, the supreme sect won't be far from becoming the greatest sect. Of course, the sect's own strength is the most important. Guan spoke eloquently. After hearing LV Baishan's long talk, he decided to pontificate. LV Baiyin soon became absorbed in listening, and seeing him paying close attention, Guan became even more enthusiastic, discussing the details. It couldn't just be competitions of strength, it would be best to have other competitions of skills. These events could be held in different outer sect and inner sect cities, driving the economic development of these cities. He even proposed establishing various societies among the disciples, such as the Elixir Society and Swordsman Society, to facilitate disciple exchanges and allow disciples with leadership skills to hone their abilities. LV Baiyin was astonished. This boy writing Investiture of the Gods wasn't a coincidence. He truly had great talent inside. After Guan finished speaking, LV Baiyin drank a bowl of tea in one go, feeling invigorated. LV Baiyin looked at him intently and said, "And you say you're not fit to be the sect leader?" Guan waved and said, "I don't have the qualifications to be the sect leader. I don't have an illustrious background, nor do I have the courage or boldness to implement grand plans. At most, I can offer some advice. Execution is the hardest part. Guan would never be sect leader." LV Baiyin smiled and then began to ask questions about the strategies Guan had just mentioned, with Guan patiently answering. An hour passed before they both walked out of the pavilion. LV Baiyin followed Guan, still savoring Guan's ideas. As soon as they went downstairs, he bid farewell, saying he wasn't in the mood for festivities. Guan didn't try to persuade him to stay. Without LV Baiyin around, the festive atmosphere in the Third Medicine Valley became even more relaxed. After the new year, the matter of training on the Nine Nether Road quickly spread throughout the Supreme Sect. Treasures, heavenly materials, demon cores, spiritual energy, all kinds of benefits of the Nine Nether Road began to spread wildly. It was obvious that LV Baiyin, heeding Guan's advice, focused on publicizing the specific benefits of the opportunities, stirring up the enthusiasm of the disciples and enhancing their sense of belonging to the sect. In the Law Enforcement Hall, Yi Lan was summoned to meet with the elder of the Law Enforcement Hall. The elder of the Law Enforcement Hall smiled and said, "Yi Lan, the higher-ups have assigned you a spot for the Nine Nether Road. You are quite impressive. Don't worry, the Law Enforcement Hall won't mistreat you. We will help you better enter the Nine Nether Road." Yi Lan froze. The Nine Nether Road? The first person she thought of was Guan. Even though she had been rooted in the Law Enforcement Hall for years, opportunities like the Nine Nether Road were far beyond her reach. She had heard that the first batch of spots for the Nine Nether Road was limited to only 200, and the outer sect hardly had any chance. The corners of Yi Lan's mouth lifted. She felt no burden about being taken care of by Guan, only surprise and sweetness. "Senior brother, it seems you still have me in your heart, even if you are stubborn with words." Yi Lan understood Guan's thoughts. Romantic relationships could indeed hinder cultivation. Precisely because of this, she wanted to seize every opportunity to become stronger, proving her determination to her senior brother. Winter passed, and spring came, bringing the awakening of all things. Time reached early March. In the Third Medicine Valley, Guan squatted by the Heavenly Spirit Pond formed by Heavenly Spirit water. He had just released a batch of carp into it and was watching them swim freely to see if they could absorb the spiritual energy of the pond. Lu Lingjun stood beside him and said, "If raised like this, they might develop spiritual wisdom. Will the Heavenly Spirit water continue to expand?" Guan asked curiously. Lu Lingjun replied, "With the amount of water I have given you, it should reach a diameter of 10 zhang." Hearing this, Guan thought it was a bit small. Just as he was about to speak, suddenly a sword intent came from afar, alarming the sky. Lu Lingjun's expression changed slightly. She turned her head, frowning. Guwen looked up and saw thunderclouds rapidly rolling in the sky, heading towards the inner sect. The sword intent of the Taicang Divine shocking sword. Guwen could feel Enhao's presence. Good boy, he's already mastered the sword intent of the Taicang Divine shocking sword so quickly. Guwen felt both gratified and a bit shocked. Enhao's talent was truly extraordinary. Lu Lingjun said in surprise, "This sword intent is similar to that left by Sword Venerable Fudao on the Heavenly Repair platform, but it's far less grand. Could it be that a disciple of Sword Venerable Fudao has initially mastered the Sword Dao?" Guwen asked curiously, "A disciple? How can you tell so clearly? I can't even feel it." Lu Lingjun remained calm, saying, "Perhaps I've seen others cultivate sword intent." Having been a servant disciple for so long, she already understood the Supreme Sect and was ready to move up. To increase her status, her cultivation was naturally key. She didn't plan to start as an outer disciple but wanted to be introduced by Guwen. Meanwhile, amidst clouds and mist, a mountain peak protruded through the sea of clouds, looking like an immortal realm. Alone at the mountain top, Enhao was meditating. Enhao's white robes fluttered wildly, and in front of him, a sword shadow condensed, exuding an ancient aura. Figures appeared out of thin air around him. LV Baidian and Elder Xianquan had also arrived. Elder Guzong looked at Enhao, astonished, and said, "This sword intent is..." Another elder said in a deep voice, "The sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. Did he gain insight from the Heavenly Repair platform?" "No, just relying on the Heavenly Repair platform isn't enough. He must have inherited Sword Venerable Fudao's legacy," a female elder said in a deep voice. "So, he is a disciple of Sword Venerable Fudao? No wonder, such a genius would voluntarily join the Supreme Sect without any background. It turns out, Sword Venerable Fudao helped us nurture the disciple," Elder Guzong remarked. LV Baidian kept his eyes fixed on Enhao, his gaze flickering. Elder Xianquan stroked his beard and said, "Such domineering sword intent, it could be recognized as the foremost sword Dao of the Taicang dynasty." His comment made the elders even more excited, and they began discussing Enhao's background and talent. Elder Xianquan, meanwhile, waved his sleeve, and flags flew out from it, surrounding Enhao. The flags started to gather nature's spiritual energy, pouring it into Enhao's body. Chapter 121. The Battle of the Worlds #1. Enhao's Taicang Divine shocking sword intent shook the entire Supreme Sect, causing countless disciples to discuss it fervently. The sword intent lingered for several hours before it dissipated. In the following days, various rumors emerged. The only certainty was that the pressure came from a sword intent, which led to an increasing number of sword cultivators gathering at the Heavenly Repair platform. Gu An's days had been quite peaceful. He moved between the 3 medicine valleys, occasionally visiting the Mystic Heaven Cave mansion at night, and spent the rest of the time enjoying life. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. Guwen turned 62 years old. The news of Sword Venerable Fudao's eradication of the ephemera sect demons had just truly spread throughout the immortal cultivation world. Guwen often heard people in the outer sect talking about it, and Sword Venerable Fudao had already earned the reputation of being the foremost sword cultivator of the Taicang dynasty. Some even thought he was the best in the world. That day at noon, Guwen stood at the edge of the Heavenly Repair platform, looking at the 100-foot-tall stone statue ahead, feeling pleased. This 100-foot-tall stone statue was the divine statue of Sword Venerable Fudao, crafted in the posture of Guwen performing his 9 extremes yin-yang body. The demonic chi around him was sculpted into an aura. The statue had one hand pointing diagonally and the other holding a sword, exuding an imposing air. At this moment, it wasn't just Guwen who was observing the divine statue of the Sword Venerable. There were also over a dozen others gazing up, each discussing among themselves. Listening to their words of admiration for Sword Venerable Fudao, Guwen felt even more delighted. Fame across the world? Who wouldn't want that? Guwen wanted it too, but he feared others discovering his life-stealing ability, so he kept a low profile. However, being able to make a name for himself under another identity still satisfied his vanity. Sword Venerable Fudao may indeed be the foremost sword cultivator of the Taicang dynasty, but he is not necessarily the best in the world. A voice drew Gu An's attention, as well as the gaze of many disciples around. The speaker was a man in blue attire, holding a folding fan. With an elegant demeanor and a handsome, calm face, it was as if the outrageous words just now hadn't come from his mouth. A burly inner sect disciple looked at the man in blue and said in a deep voice, "Oh? Then pray tell, who is the best sword cultivator in the world?" By now, Sword Venerable Fudao was the pride of all Supreme Sect disciples, and they wouldn't tolerate any questioning. The man in blue responded, "In the westernmost land within Tianwei, there is a sword cultivator called Taoist Tianjian. 700 years ago, he was the foremost sword cultivator of Tianwei. He later retreated into the deep mountains, focusing solely on sword enlightenment. Not long ago, a sword intent erupted in Tianwei, proving he is still alive. If not for Sword Venerable Fudao's swift action, it would have been this senior who ended the ephemera sect. Tianwei, one of the 9 dynasties, located at the far west, constantly plagued by demons, yet its territory was even more extensive than Taicang, a testament to Tianwei's might. Guan sensed that this person's cultivation level was hidden. On the surface, he appeared to be at the core formation realm, but had actually reached the divinity transformation realm. He cast a lifespan detection. Siege Divinity Transformation Second Level 289/800/1300, Concealed Cultivation, and boasting of Tianwei cultivators, this rascal must not be a disciple of the Supreme Sect. Guan remained silent, watching as the surrounding disciples verbally attacked Siege. Siege remained indifferent, facing the insults and slanders with calmness. Taoist Tianjian was indeed formidable and once renowned throughout the world. But that's ancient history. As a prince of the Tianwei imperial family, possessing the fire god blood lineage, to speak so recklessly within the Supreme Sect, are you inciting a war? A voice came, and everyone turned to see the mad swordsman of Great Yu, Han Ming, striding forward. Siege turned back, raised his hand in salute, and said, "So it's the mad swordsman, Senior. I've heard you've been in the Supreme Sect for many years. Are you planning to join the Supreme Sect?" He smiled gently, but his words were uncomfortable. Boy, if not for the favor your father, the Emperor, granted me, you'd be a corpse now. Do you think your divinity transformation realm cultivation can withstand my sword?" Han Ming snorted coldly. Divinity transformation realm. Upon hearing this, the disciples who had previously insulted Siege all turned pale and retreated. Since that's the case, there's no need to pretend anymore. Siege smiled, then looked around and shouted, "I am a disciple of Taoist Tianjian, a prince of the Tianwei dynasty, Siege. Today, I am here on behalf of my master to issue a challenge. In 3 months, my master will personally arrive at the heavenly repair platform to seek instruction in swordsmanship from Sword Venerable Fudao." His voice echoed beneath the sky, audible to the entire city. Someone wanted to challenge Sword Venerable Fudao? Han Ming smiled. He was the first sword cultivator to seek instruction from Sword Venerable Fudao, reminding him, the ephemera sect has great cultivators beyond the unification realm. Does your master have such a level? Siege closed his fan and smiled. Of course, originally my father, the Emperor, was going to ask him to deal with the ephemera sect. Unfortunately, he was a step too late. His tone was arrogant, as if Taoist Tianjian's victory over Sword Venerable Fudao was assured, further displeasing the Supreme Sect disciples. An elder appeared beside Siege out of thin air, said a few words using sound transmission skill, causing Siege's face to change slightly. He snorted, "Let's go. Anyway, the challenge has been issued. Whether or not Sword Venerable Fudao accepts it is his business." He then left with the elder. Guan watched his departing figure, growing cautious. Sword Venerable Fudao had just thwarted the ephemera sect's conspiracy and was at the height of his fame. For someone to dare step forward now, they must be very capable. Guwen didn't dwell on it and turned to leave the heavenly repair platform, intending to check on Wuju. A month ago, Wuju's maximum lifespan had increased again, making Guwen even more interested in him and curious about the potential limit of his lifespan. Third Medicine Valley, inside a loft. LV Baidian scoffed. Tianwei is quite ambitious, wanting to suppress the Supreme Sect to seize control over the Nine Nether Road. Though strong, Taoist Tianjian is courting death by coming to the Supreme Sect. A month had passed since Xizhi issued his challenge, and the upcoming duel had spread throughout the Taicang immortal cultivation world. Cultivators from various sects and regions were flocking to watch. LV Baidian seized the opportunity to promote the Golden List in various cities. The so-called Golden List was a ranking of the world's most talented individuals under the age of 500, encompassing the 9 dynasties. It caused quite a stir. Guwen worriedly asked, "Will there be internal strife among the sects of the 9 dynasties?" You can rest assured, the demon calamity is imminent, and no one dares to act recklessly. Furthermore, the main lineage of the ephemera sect may cause chaos on the 9 Nether Road. At that time, the sects of the 9 dynasties must unite. Otherwise, one-on-one, none can guarantee the defeat of the main lineage of the ephemera sect. That's precisely why Tianwei asked Taoist Tianjian to act, in the name of sparring to suppress us. LV Baidian waved dismissively. Guwen asked again, if Sword Venerable Fudao kills Taoist Tianjian, won't it trigger a war? Just when Han Ming had come, now another one. Guwen couldn't tolerate it. This time, he needed to strike, preventing such troubles from arising continuously. Naturally not. If even Taoist Tianjian is dead, Tianwei will only be more wary of the Supreme Sect. It's best if Sword Venerable Fudao slays Taoist Tianjian. LV Baidian snorted, a fierce look on his face. Guwen suddenly remembered that this guy had once been impeached by the Hall of Elders due to his tyrannical behavior. LV Baidian's tone shifted. And how is a disciple of Sword Venerable Fudao? Do you think his appearance in front of me is a reminder from the Sword Venerable? A reminder of what? A reminder that my position as sect leader is unstable. LV Baidian's eyes turned deep, and his tone became elusive, making it unclear what he was thinking. Guwen couldn't help but laugh and said, if that's the case, hasn't Chu Tianqi already perished? LV Baidian asked, do you think he hasn't? And how is exceptionally talented and must be favored by Sword Venerable Fudao? If it were you, would you send your most beloved disciple to a rival to become a sword? Guwen felt LV Baidian was getting delusional. You have a point. LV Baidian smiled. Seeing his smile, Guwen's heart skipped a beat. Wait, why was he asking him? LV Baidian continued, and Hao's talent is so strong that once he fully grows, it will be easy for him to earn the respect of the entire Supreme Sect, just like that true inheritor. Kid, if you don't become sect leader, the position will be his. Wouldn't that be better? I don't want to be sect leader anyway. Guwen shook his head, and LV Baidian smiled, saying no more. Then, Guwen inquired about Yilan's situation. The first group to venture into the 9 Nether Road had already set off. LV Baidian reassured, don't worry, I personally instructed the leading elder to take care of her. With the Qinghong sword, Guwen could always sense Yilan's situation. However, he would only intervene in her moments of peril. Normally, he didn't want her to be neglected or bullied. The two chatted a while longer. Before leaving, LV Baidian left a book. After LV Baidian left, Guwen picked it up to read. Defying Fate Divine Skill. At dusk, Li Ya, carrying the North Sea heavy sword, walked to the edge of the heavenly repair platform, gazing at the divine statue of Sword Venerable Fudao with barely hidden excitement in his eyes. Ancestor, the primordial ancestor is indeed Sword Venerable Fudao. Li Ya screamed in his heart. The ancestor was also shocked, sighing, I thought he was the demon of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion? I told you, our primordial ancestor can't possibly be a demon cultivator. Li Ya was overjoyed. On his way here, he had already learned about Taoist Tianjian's challenge, so he came to the heavenly repair platform to admire the image of Sword Venerable Fudao. discovering that he was indeed the primordial ancestor of the Li family. He began to look forward to the upcoming duel. "Why don't you go see your junior brother Gu?" the old ancestor's voice teased. Li replied in his mind, "I won't disturb him. My recent experiences aren't worth sharing. I'll wait until I've mastered the Taicang Divine shocking sword. Besides, the Supreme Sect is about to launch the Golden List. I must make a name for myself in the Golden List ceremony." His tone was full of confidence. After consuming the Dragon Image Divine Primordial and learning the Taicang Divine shocking sword, his confidence had soared. 7 steps away, a figure approached, also starting to gaze up at the divine statue of Sword Venerable Fudao. "Wu Ju." He looked at the divine statue of Sword Venerable Fudao, his eyes filled with sorrow. "Master, you always respected Sword Venerable Fudao. It's a pity you can't witness the upcoming duel." Wu Ju thought silently, contemplating deeply. Gradually, he began to enlighten the path. Li, after watching for a while, turned to leave. "Wait!" the old ancestor's voice suddenly rang out. Chapter 122 The Real Taicang Divine Shocking Sword, What's Wrong? Leah asked in his mind, puzzled. He couldn't wait to return to the inner sex cave, to cultivate properly and then become famous throughout the world. The voice of the ancestor rang out, "Look at the person next to you, he's actually gaining enlightenment." His tone was heavy, even carrying a hint of shock. Gaining enlightenment? Leah was confused, unable to stop himself from turning his head to look. His gaze quickly fell on Wu Ju. Wu Ju appeared very out of it, starkly different from the energetic disciples of the Supreme Sect around him. Was he gaining enlightenment? What kind of enlightenment? Thinking about a cultivation technique? Leah asked in his heart. The ancestor replied, "Gaining enlightenment is a special state, something one can encounter but not seek. During the process of gaining enlightenment, one can feel the heaven and earth true meaning, which leads to a transformation in both comprehension and physical aptitude. Those who can gain enlightenment, even if only once, can defy fate and rewrite their destiny. Even I have never gained enlightenment. I have only seen a friend of mine who had. If he were still alive, he would undoubtedly be one of the top experts in the 9 dynasties of the immortal cultivation world." So amazing? Leah examined Wu Ju carefully but couldn't see how Wu Ju was different. He looked quite ordinary, even less impressive than his junior brother Gu. At least his junior brother Gu was handsome and easily likable. The Supreme Sect truly hides dragons and crouching tigers. Not to mention LV Xian and Ji Xiaoyu, the cultivation speed of An Hao is unprecedented in history. Anyway, I've never heard of such a prodigious talent before. Now you encounter someone gaining enlightenment. The younger they are when they gain enlightenment, the greater their potential. This boy looks about your age. In the future, he will probably soar to great heights. The fortune of the Supreme Sect is unstoppable." The ancestor's tone was filled with emotion. He also felt pressured. Remembering his promises to Leah, he was filled with shame. He had promised to help Leah ascend to the peak of immortal cultivation and become #1 in the world. But seeing LV Xian and Ji Xiaoyu, and hearing the legends of An Hao, he felt the pressure. The talent of these 3 was too exaggerated, and their backgrounds far surpassed Leah's. The ancestor thought he couldn't provide Leah with an advantage in cultivation resources. It's a good thing that the Supreme Sect is so powerful. With rivals, I have something to look forward to, Leah thought confidently, leaving the ancestor unsure of how to respond. After a long time, the ancestor finally spoke. "Just stay nearby. When he wakes up, ask him if he has a master. If not, accept him for me." "Huh? I accept him as a disciple?" "Of course not, he will be my disciple." "What do you mean? If he is your disciple, isn't he my ancestor?" "Be content. Without my help, you wouldn't even have the qualifications to compete with such a genius," the ancestor said rudely. Although Leah was annoyed, he didn't argue back. He began to wait, while contemplating the sword intent of the Taicang Divine shocking sword. He waited for an entire night. The next morning, Wu Ju finally woke up. He had gained enlightenment more than once, so his expression remained calm. He turned to leave, but Leah stopped him. "Brother, do you have a master?" Leah asked directly. Wu Ju's eyes flashed with coldness. He bypassed Leah and walked toward the stage. Leah blocked him again, which made Wu Ju furious. He raised his hand to push Leah away. Li Ya's physical body was strong. He was not afraid of this Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. Wu Ju's right hand pressed against Li Ya's shoulder. Feeling the strength of his opponent, he clenched his fist and pushed hard. Leah was caught off guard and was pushed back 2 steps. Before he could react, Wu Ju controlled his sword and flew away, making it difficult for Leah to chase him since causing trouble in the city was prohibited. How is this possible, such great strength? Leah was shocked and bewildered. The ancestor sighed in his heart, "It's a pity, don't chase him. Avoid making enemies." Leah lost his smile. As a core formation realm cultivator, he had been pushed away by a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator. He had taken the dragon image divine primordial, a treasure pursued by the demon clan. It was too humiliating. No way. I'm still not strong enough. Leah clenched his fists, his arrogance disappearing. In autumn, the outer gate city became bustling with activity. Guan and Wu Ju gathered in an inn, drinking and chatting, waiting for the upcoming battle. Wu Ju was complaining to Guan about meeting Leah last month. At the mention of Leah, he became furious, feeling that Leah had insulted him. Guan nodded after listening, saying, "Indeed, it's quite odd. Asking such a question out of nowhere, never mind. Don't think about him, he is just a passerby in your life. You will become a genius eventually, why bother with such a small role?" Although the person Wu Ju spoke of was a bit despicable, Guan thought it wasn't worth holding a grudge. Wu Ju didn't need to worry about such small matters. When Wu Ju grew up, he couldn't imagine. Would he kill anyone he disliked? He didn't want Wu Ju to become such a person. Wu Ju nodded, saying, "Naturally, I won't hold a grudge. I'm just venting to you. You know, you are my only friend." Guan asked, "When will you reveal your talent?" The inn was crowded, most people were chatting about Sword Venerable Fudao and Taoist Tianjian, not paying attention to them. Hearing Guan's question, Wu Ju shook his head, "It's fine just like this." He didn't trust others, especially since there had been internal strife in the Supreme Sect before. The former sect leader even conducted a blood sacrifice on his disciples, making him wary of the Supreme Sect. Guan took a storage bag from his waist and handed it to him. Wu Ju was suspicious, took the storage bag, and probed inside with his divine sense. His face turned pale, quickly pushing it back, saying, "Brother Gu, I can't accept this. How do you have so many?" He had always thought Guan was an ordinary, lowly disciple like him but didn't expect Guan to have so many elixirs. Guan smiled, "I am the Valley Master of Medicine Valley. These are elixirs I have refined. Just accept them. I'm not too eager to become strong. I fear fighting the most. Growing flowers and plants is my joy, so the elixirs suit you better. When you become strong, you must protect me." "But this is too much," Wu Ju hesitated. "You said I'm your only friend. Just accept it. If you feel bad, consider me your elder brother. An elder brother is like a father. As your teacher, I will take good care of you. I have plenty of elixirs." Guan made funny faces, making Wu Ju smile and glare at him. "I'm 2 years older than you, I should be the elder brother." "Forget it, your temperament is not as mature as mine." They began to bicker, and the smile on Wu Ju's face grew wider. In the end, Wu Ju accepted the storage bag, secretly vowing to never let anyone bully Guan in the future. They continued drinking. After 30 minutes, a loud voice echoed through the outer gate city. "I, Taoist Tianjian, have come to challenge the sword of Sword Venerable Fudao of the Supreme Sect." As the voice fell, a vast, majestic sword intent enveloped the entire outer gate city. Wu Ju's expression changed immediately, turning to look. Guan had already sensed Taoist Tianjian's presence, so he remained unmoved. Taoist Tianjian was indeed very strong, even slightly stronger than the Night Cultivator Fairy of the Ephemera sect. He was estimated to have the cultivation level of the 4th or 5th layer of the Mystic Heart realm. Reaching the Mystic Heart realm, a small realm gap was difficult to surpass. No wonder Taoist Tianjian dared to come. Guan stood up, saying, "I just remembered I have something to do at the Elixir Hall. I need to quickly get it done so I can watch the battle between Sword Venerable Fudao and Taoist Tianjian. I'll come find you afterward." With that he hurriedly left. Wu Ju didn't have time to stop him. After going downstairs, Wu Ju leaned out the window and shouted, "Hurry up!" Guan waved without turning back and quickly disappeared around the street corner. Taoist Tianjian has come. The outer gate city stirred, with more and more cultivators flying out, searching for Taoist Tianjian's figure in the sky. At this moment, a 10-zhang tall sword, gleaming with white light, descended from the sky and hovered above the south city gate. Atop the sword's hilt stood an elder with the demeanor of an immortal, his hair white, garbed in white robes, with no sword or magic artifact in hand, his arms crossed behind him. He closed his eyes and began waiting. The news spread quickly, and disciples from all directions in Outer Gate City hurried over. LV Baiyan brought an Hao to the heavenly repair platform. Soon after, Xian Quan, Gu Zong, and other high-ranking members of the Supreme Sect appeared one by one. And Hao gazed curiously at Taoist Tianjian's figure. He now knew that his master was the Sword Venerable Fudao of the Supreme Sect. He came specifically to watch the fight, believing his master to be invincible, so he wasn't worried about his master losing. He just wanted to see how Taoist Tianjian would lose. Xian Quan stroked his beard, feeling emotional. Such profound sword intent and deep Tao level, as formidable as ever after 1,000 years. He and Taoist Tianjian were cultivators from the same era, having witnessed Taoist Tianjian's prowess, so he didn't underestimate him. The figures on the heavenly repair platform rapidly multiplied, and the vast platform quickly became crowded. Liya also arrived, standing on a rooftop, observing Taoist Tianjian from afar. Taoist Tianjian's aura was too overwhelming, giving people the feeling of facing an immortal descending to the mortal world, far surpassing the traveler of graceful crane. This made Liya somewhat nervous. "This old guy is something else," Liya remarked in his heart. Indeed, he might be above the unification level. Daring to show up at this critical moment indicates his strong confidence, "Stronger than I was in my previous life," the ancestor said gravely. "Stronger than you, again?" Liya really wanted to retort but held back. The ancestor could hear his thoughts, causing an awkward silence between them as they waited for Sword Venerable Fudao to appear. Prince Sijia from Tianwei ascended the heavenly repair platform, smiling. "Everyone, watch closely. Witness the first sword of Tianwei. See what it means to be the sword immortal of mortal world." Hearing his words, the disciples of the Supreme Sect were displeased, but the presence of Taoist Tianjian was too strong. Under his watchful eyes, they didn't dare speak boldly. Time passed. Shenzhen also came. She stood on a rooftop, taking out a pen and paper, eyes filled with anticipation as she looked at Taoist Tianjian. Meanwhile, Guan had already moved to a forest. Sitting under a tree, he pondered how to defeat Taoist Tianjian. Rarely taking action, it had to be a grand display under so many eyes. Guan looked at the leaf in his hand, then suddenly threw it to the ground, muttering, "Never mind, just let them witness the real Taicang Divine shocking sword." Chapter 123, Number 1 in the World. In the outer gate city, Taoist Tianjian stood motionless on a giant sword of white light. The autumn wind made his robe, white hair, and beard flutter, making him look transcendent as if he could ascend to immortality at any moment. The eaves of every building in the city were crowded with disciples, not only of the Supreme Sect but also cultivators from other sects and families, all eager to see who was the greatest sword master of the time. Billowing dark clouds surged from the horizon, swiftly covering the entire city, increasing the tension. Everyone dared not speak loudly, only whispering to each other. Wu Ju stood on an eave, facing the wind. The wind grew stronger, forcing him to cultivate energy to keep his hair from blocking his vision. What a powerful presence, truly like that of an immortal. Why hasn't Sword Venerable Fudao appeared yet? This battle can't be avoided, even the Prince of Tianwei has come to challenge us. Don't worry, the Venerable will definitely come. Even the mad swordsman of Great Yu had to wait for a while when he challenged him before. What's the hurry? A good show needs to be savored. Listening to the discussions around him, Wu Ju's eyes were filled with longing. He wondered when he would achieve such prestige. In the future, he too wanted to have such a widely anticipated duel with the top experts of the time. He hoped his opponent would be Sword Venerable Fudao. Boom! The dark clouds suddenly changed and thunder roared. A majestic celestial force descended, enveloping the outer gate city. He's here, Shen Quan said softly, drawing the eyes of those around him. And Hao was particularly excited, clenching his fists. Taoist Tianjian, standing on the giant sword of white light, also opened his eyes. He looked up at the boundless thunderclouds. The thunderclouds covered the entire sky, with lightning bolts like writhing dragons, making countless cultivators feel the pressure, as if a great catastrophe was impending. Thunder roared continuously, and the wind howled through the heavens and earth. Taoist Tianjian stood on the hilt of his sword, his white robe flaring like white flames burning fiercely. Sword Venerable Fudao, why do you not show yourself? Is this how the Supreme Sect treats its guests? His voice echoed, cold and indifferent. On the heavenly repair platform, Han Ming sneered. He didn't even get to meet Sword Venerable Fudao back then, and now you think you can? Just wait to be defeated. Shen Zhen had already sketched the figure of Taoist Tianjian. She took out another sheet of paper and continued to draw, first capturing the oppressive scene of the sky filled with thunderclouds. Face your demise with your strongest swordsmanship. A deep, hoarse voice rang out, making Li Ya and Hao incredibly excited. It was the voice of the primordial ancestor. It was the voice of the master. All the cultivators in the city held their breath. It was the first time they had heard the voice of Sword Venerable Fudao, and they were all shocked by its domineering tone. Absolute confidence, absolute dominance, this was the Sword Venerable Fudao of the Supreme Sect. Taoist Tianjian's eyes sharpened, and a vast sword intent burst from within him, sweeping across the sky above the outer gate city, forming a vast sea of swords. The brilliant sword light, crystal-like starlight, illuminated everyone's face. At a glance, it looked like a galaxy transversing above the outer gate city, astonishing everyone. What kind of sword intent was this? Was this a realm achievable through cultivation? In the galaxy formed by the condensed sword intent, countless sword shadows began to coalesce, all pointing skyward, their edges gleaming sharply. At the same time, the thunderclouds above intensified in their churning, quickly forming a giant face, with only its facial features visible, leaving the true visage unseen. It looked like an immortal deity, gazing down upon the entire outer gate city. In front of this giant face, everyone seemed insignificant, including the galaxy of sword intent created by Taoist Tianjian. Everyone's hearts raced as they looked at the massive face that occupied most of the sky, feeling an inexplicable sense of awe. Taoist Tianjian frowned, raising his right hand and placing 2 fingers to his lips. He began cultivating energy, and white flames of sword intent gathered around him, wind swirling around his body. His aura reached its peak, even startling the city's protection array to activate, forming a giant light shield to protect the entire city, with him floating just at its edge. The ground trembled, mountains swayed. The distant mystic valley was alarmed, making all the servant disciples turn their heads. Chu Jingfeng quickly reached the mountaintop, gazing afar at the rolling thunderclouds on the horizon, as if a great calamity was imminent. Not only from Mystic Valley, but even from the distant Tianya Valley, people were also alarmed. Yi Luyun, meditating on the mountaintop, squinted towards the distance, his hands tightly clenched in his sleeves. At this moment, this seeker of the sword Dao felt his insignificance. On the heavenly repair platform, the Prince of Tianwei, Xizhe, also became tense. Although Sword Venerable Fudao had yet to appear, The giant face in the sky was so terrifying that even he couldn't imagine what kind of power could crush the oppressive might of this giant face. Heavenly sword, rise. In the still and oppressive heaven and earth, Taoist Tianjian's voice suddenly rang out, like the first ray of light piercing through chaos, invigorating everyone's spirits. Taoist Tianjian thrust his right hand towards the sky, causing countless sword shadows floating in the galaxy of sword intent to rise together, converging, grand and spectacular. At this moment, the giant face in the sky suddenly opened its third eye on its forehead. A sword light shot out from the third eye, seeming like the light of the heavenly Tao, descending with unparalleled celestial might. Boom! The two terrifying sword intents collided in midair, causing the world to resonate. Countless cultivators' senses trembled, their visions blurred, and various noises filled their ears. Their divine senses felt a burning sensation, instinctively retreating. Mystic heart, LV Bain muttered as he gazed up at the unparalleled battle. His face was illuminated by two kinds of strong light, divided into upper and lower layers. The light below was silvery white, while the light above was dimmer, yet it continually devoured the silvery white light below. Taoist Tianjian's expression changed dramatically. His opponent's sword intent far exceeded his expectations. Impossible. Could he not be of the mystic heart realm? He thought in disbelief. At this moment, the sword light from the third eye of the giant face suddenly grew stronger, shattering his sword intent and descending upon him with a speed surpassing lightning. His white hair and robe flared. He stared with wide eyes, his body turning rigid. In his pupils, a figure could be vaguely seen gazing down at him as if an immortal deity watching over an ant. In the eyes of all onlookers, Taoist Tianjian's sword intent lasted only for the span of 2 breaths before it was instantly shattered. The vast galaxy of sword lights was crushed, forming countless silver fragments floating inside and outside the city. The scene was so visually overwhelming that cultivators of all realms were moved. Xian Quan's eyes widened, his heart churning with waves of shock. He had the highest realm and saw everything clearly. The gap between Sword Venerable Fudao and Taoist Tianjian was immense. Taoist Tianjian was no match for Sword Venerable Fudao at all. He could even confirm that when Sword Venerable Fudao first attacked, he deliberately held back. Otherwise, he could have killed Taoist Tianjian in an instant. Taoist Tianjian first showcased his strong sword intent to emphasize how terrifying Sword Venerable Fudao's sword was. At least Xian Quan was frightened, unable to fathom the true strength of Sword Venerable Fudao. Siege's pupils dilated, and his face was filled with disbelief as he looked at Taoist Tianjian. Before Sword Venerable Fudao acted, Taoist Tianjian was the #1 in the world in his eyes. Yet this #1 in the world had been defeated so utterly. The mad swordsman of Great Yu, Han Ming, fell into a stupor. The strength demonstrated by Sword Venerable Fudao made him feel ashamed, realizing how overconfident he had been before. And Hao smiled broadly, trying to suppress his urge to cheer. Liya stood on the eaves, dumbstruck by what he saw. Shenzhen quickly regained her composure and swiftly sketched the scene of Taoist Tianjian's dreadful defeat. The wind howled as Taoist Tianjian fell backward. His mystic heart was shattered, and his primordial spirit was continuously breaking apart. It was hopeless, and he couldn't even speak anymore. Yet, his face showed a satisfied smile. The #1 sword in the world. I have witnessed it. Taoist Tianjian's eyelids grew heavier. His gaze remained fixed on the giant face in the sky. Even when he closed his eyes, the corners of his mouth lifted into a smile. With a thud, Taoist Tianjian's body fell in front of the South City Gate, stirring up a cloud of dust. The overwhelming oppressive force covering the entire world dissipated, and the giant face formed of thunderclouds in the sky vanished as well. Boom! The entire city shook. The sounds of uproar and exclamations erupted like thunder from a clear sky. Everyone became excited, the cheers, shouts, and exclamations merging into a deafening roar. My heavens! It ended with one strike? Haha, I told you, Sword Venerable Fudao couldn't be defeated. The gap is too vast. Actually, Taoist Tianjian is really strong. Before Sword Venerable Fudao acted, I really thought he was the #1 in the world. Yes, that vast sword intent even made my sword want to unsheathe. Listening to the voices from every direction, Wu Ju also felt excited. It was a pity Guan wasn't around. He wouldn't be able to express his emotions alone. Just then he saw Guan leap up from the street, hurrying toward him. Seeing this, Wu Ju's face immediately broke into an excited smile. My heavens, did you see that just now? It was incredible. Guan hurried to Wu Ju, excitedly exclaiming. Wu Ju responded enthusiastically, I saw it. I saw it. He grabbed Guan, starting to exclaim in awe, just as excited as the others in the city. On the heavenly repair platform, LV Baitin looked at Gu Zong and instructed, increase the publicity for the Golden List Assembly. The top rank can get the Supreme Sect's secret manual of divine skills. Gu Zong nodded, unable to suppress the smile on his face. LV Bin then turned to another elder, saying, initiate the plan for the world's first sword society, start spreading the word. The top 10 in the world can observe Sword Venerable Fudao's sword intent and obtain his Sword Dao legacy. The elder nodded but suddenly thought of something, hesitating to speak. There were too many people around. Some things couldn't be asked directly. The entire outer gate city was even more bustling than during the New Year, or rather, the city had never been this lively before. Stroking his beard, Xian Quan gazed out and sighed, the Supreme Sect is destined to rise. And Hao closed his eyes, carefully savoring Sword Venerable Fudao's earlier strike. Mysteriously, he seemed to grasp something, falling into deep contemplation. As if sensing something, Xian Quan suddenly turned to look at Hao, as did everyone else. When they saw Hao's state, they were all moved. This boy. Chapter 124 Lifespan of 2 million years. Inside the inn, Guan and Wu Ju finally found a seat. After sitting down, they continued to discuss the intense battle they had just witnessed. Though it was brief, it was enough to make all the spectators' blood boil with excitement. Guan smiled in agreement, feeling a slight tinge of regret. Killing Taoist Tianjian would only grant 10 years of lifespan, because Taoist Tianjian had less than 200 years left to live when he chose to take his own life. Taoist Tianjian probably reached the mystic heart realm long ago, but 700 years ago, he likely realized there was no hope for his cultivation to increase further, so he secluded himself in the deep mountains. Unfortunately, after sitting for 700 years, he still couldn't find the path. This time, Taoist Tianjian came seeking death. Guan didn't dwell on it. His attention was soon drawn to Hao on the heavenly repair platform. Hao was actually achieving path enlightenment. The inner sect elders surrounded him, protecting him. Good lad. Guan felt comforted. The stronger Hao became, the happier he was. Hao was his true disciple. Unlike the disciples of Medicine Valley, the more powerful Hao became, the more pride Guan felt. With so many great cultivators protecting him, Guan was relieved. He withdrew his thoughts and focused on drinking and laughing with Wu Ju. Before long, a figure approached and sat beside Guan. She nonchalantly handed him a drawing. What do you think? How is the drawing? Shenzhen asked with a smile. Guan took a careful look. In the painting, Taoist Tianjian stood with arms spread wide, enduring the sword light descending from the sky. The dark and fierce style of the painting gave a sense of tragic beauty. Not bad as expected from you, Guan praised casually. Shenzhen pouted, sensing his perfunctory tone. Wu Ju hesitated and asked, Brother Gu, who is this? Although Shenzhen wore a veil, her attire and features indicated she must be a beauty and of high status. Guan smiled and said, This lady is named Shenzhen. Like me, you can address her as Ms. Shin. He then introduced Wu Ju to Shenzhen. Seeing Shenzhen's indifferent attitude, Guan reminded her, My brother here is no ordinary person. He will someday make a name for himself in the Supreme Sect. Don't talk nonsense. Wu Ju interrupted hastily, his face turning red. Really? Shenzhen couldn't help but reassess Wu Ju, making him even more uncomfortable. Guan laughed. Come, let's drink and chat. In his view, Wu Ju was destined to showcase his talents, and Xinjin, being a holy daughter of a major sect, would eventually cross paths with him. Meeting earlier would help them look after each other in the future. Shenzhen also started talking about the earlier battle, eagerly leading the conversation while Guan continued to play the role of the agreeing listener, and Wu Ju became increasingly ill at ease, managing only to smile politely. After 30 minutes, Shenzhen stood up to leave, intending to paint more scenes of the earlier battle. After she left, Wu Ju finally breathed a sigh of relief. Guan teased him, "Why are you so nervous? Don't tell me you've taken a liking to her?" "Nonsense, that lady clearly has her heart set on you. As your brother, how could I have improper thoughts? I just don't know how to talk to women. You know well, you're my only friend." Wu Ju glared at him, quite serious. "Here we go again. You're my only friend." Guan shook his head and laughed. Having one more friend means having one more path. Walking alone in the immortal cultivation world is tiring. "I know. It's just that I'm not good at making friends." "Then what about us?" "We hit it off right away. It wasn't about making friends, it was destiny." "Hey, you brat, you sure know how to talk to me." Guan laughed heartily. With him, Wu Ju was confident and not the least bit nervous. They talked until dusk before parting ways. Guan then went back to Mystic Valley to see his disciples. He noticed Chu Jingfeng sitting silently on the mountaintop and decided not to disturb him. If Chu Jingfeng could achieve path enlightenment, it would be a good thing. However, path enlightenment wasn't easy. And Hao and Wu Ju were once in millennium talents. Not everyone could compare to them. After spending an hour in Mystic Valley, Guan visited the Third Medicine Valley. The Third Medicine Valley was much livelier than Mystic Valley, as it had 10 times the number of disciples. Guan chatted with the disciples for a while before returning to his loft, preparing to read and soothe his mind. Deep into the night, footsteps could be heard outside the door. Soon, a voice came in. "Valley Master, I have something to discuss with you." Lu Lingjun. She even used the sound transmission skill. Guan put down the supreme secret records in his hands, placing the investiture of the gods over it. He spoke, "Come in." Lu Lingjun pushed open the door and, after closing it, cast a restriction on the door. Guan was astonished, looking at Lu Lingjun in surprise. Lu Lingjun turned around, walked to the table, raised her hand in salute to Guan and said, "Valley Master, I deeply apologize for hiding something from you before." "Your cultivation level?" Guan asked nervously. Lu Lingjun said, "Truthfully, I'm at the Void Crossing Realm." "Void Crossing Realm?" Guan stood up abruptly. Lu Lingjun quickly said, "Valley Master, I mean no harm. Listen to me first." Upon hearing this, Guan's expression changed several times before he slowly sat down. Seeing Guan sit down, Lu Lingjun smiled and said, "I hid my cultivation level because I don't know much about the Taicang dynasty. I come from a very far place. While exploring a great power's cave, I encountered a mysterious formation and got transported here. Unable to find my way back, I decided to settle in the Supreme Sect. I hope the Valley Master could help introduce me." Guan asked in surprise. "With your cultivation level, you can openly join the Supreme Sect. Why need my introduction?" "The Supreme Sect has strict rules. With my cultivation level, I can only become a guest elder, which means years of waiting. I noticed the Valley Master has connections. With your help, I could avoid decades of struggle," Lu Lingjun said seriously. As she spoke, she took out 3 bottles from her sleeve and said, "These are heavenly spirit water as a token of gratitude. I hope the Valley Master likes them." Seeing this, Guan's expression turned stern. "This is nonsense. If you do this, it will seem as if I only helped you because of your gift. What would people think of me?" He gathered the 3 bottles in front of him. Lu Lingjun laughed and said, "How could that be? These heavenly spirit waters are only to thank the Valley Master for your care during this time." "I see. You've been thoughtful." Guan smiled with satisfaction and then motioned Lu Lingjun to sit down. He began to explain some matters to her, mainly about the structure of the Supreme Sect, pointing out the importance of family influence to avoid making enemies. Initially, Lu Lingjun didn't take it seriously, but as she listened, she realized Gu-en was genuinely considering her situation, and she became earnest. Autumn passed and winter came, covering the third Medicine Valley in snow. On this day, LV Bain came to visit Gu, and seeing his figure, Lu Lingjun knew her opportunity had arrived. Gu-en didn't disappoint her. Half an hour later, Gu-en and LV Bain came downstairs, and Gu-en waved to Lu Lingjun from afar. She quickly approached them, and LV Bain sized her up and said, "Gu-en has told me everything. Follow me to get your disciple token replaced." Lu Lingjun immediately thanked LV Bain and bowed to Gu-en. Gu-en smiled and nodded, then watched them fly away. Xiaochuan came over, astonished, and asked, "Why did Lu Lingjun leave? Didn't you notice she flew very fast?" Gu-en asked, then turned to leave. Xiaochuan was puzzled and followed him, asking, "What do you mean? Wasn't it that elder who flew her away?" Xiaochuan: "Yes, senior brother. Sometimes having a big heart is a good thing. Keep it that way." Huh. Gu-en ignored Xiaochuan and walked towards the heavenly spirit pond. Watching the carp in the pond had become one of his pleasures. Earlier, LV Bain had sought him to discuss the Golden List Conference and the world's first sword society. Not wanting to exhaust himself with future military strategies, he hadn't offered many opinions, so LV Bain hadn't stayed long. The coming days should be peaceful for many years. Gu-en thought to himself. In the cold winter, the news of Sword Venerable Fudao killing Taoist Tianjian with a single strike began to spread across the 9 dynasties, and the Supreme Sect used this momentum to negotiate with other dynasties to expand their influence. Though the process was difficult, the Supreme Sect's high-ranking officials didn't feel tired. From top to bottom, everyone felt a surge of energy, knowing that the Supreme Sect was on the rise. With the strongest cultivator in the world backing them, how could the Supreme Sect not dominate the 9 dynasties? Years flew by. 5 years passed swiftly, and 67-year-old Gu-en walked out from the elixir hall. He paused at the entrance, looking back and sighed gently. Zhu Qinglu was no longer there, having retired. Though the new elder was very respectful to him, Gu-en still felt somewhat uncomfortable. Old friends were gone, and new people had arrived. Gu-en turned back and blended into the bustling street. In 5 years, the Supreme Sect had risen, evident from the increasing number of disciples in the Outer Gate City. The Golden List Conference had become famous worldwide, and in 5 years, it would be held at the Supreme Sect. It was said that the Supreme Sect invited 100 clans from the 9 dynasties to lead the event, which would attract more and more geniuses to participate in the future. Gu-en suspected that the Ji family and the Gu family had contributed significantly, but of course, other families also wanted to invest in the Supreme Sect. Having more paths to tread was always beneficial. As Gu-en walked through the streets, he could hear the discussions of disciples passing by. Many famous talents' names filled his ears, with An Hao being mentioned the most frequently. Last year, An Hao went down the mountain to gain experience and developed a grudge with the demon path. Using his core formation realm cultivation, he killed a nascent soul realm great cultivator, making a name for himself in the immortal cultivation world. The title of the Supreme Sect's top genius was firmly placed on An Hao's head, with no one able to challenge it. As for LV Xian, although he was the champion of the 100 Clans Conference, those clans were high above the world and didn't engage directly with the immortal cultivation world. In the past 5 years, Gu-en's days had been very calm, but his lifespan had increased by over 700,000 years, surpassing 2 million years. The goal of 10 million years no longer seemed so distant, leaving him motivated and never feeling tired or bored. "Brother Gu, long time no see." A voice came from around the corner of the street. Gu-en turned to see the Jueshan sect's genius Zhou Tongyu approaching. Behind Zhou Tongyu was an elder who was plump, holding a feather fan, looking quite endearing. Before Zhou Tongyu reached Gu-en, Lu Lingjun appeared out of thin air in front of him. Years ago, after she followed LV Baitian, Lu Lingjun returned the next day. She was now an inner sect elder, but her task was to protect Gu-en. This had frustrated her for a long time. If not for fearing sword Venerable Fudao, she would have long ago unsheathed her sword against LV Baden. Chapter 125, Golden List's Note, Ghost in the Night. The person behind him is not simple. Lu Lingjun used the sound transmission skill to remind Guwen, her gaze bypassing Zhou Tongyu to look at the fat elder behind him. Guwen had already seen the opponent's cultivation level but still cast a lifespan detection. Zhou Li Unification Realm, 7th layer 1478/3000/3100, surname Zhou again. Guwen was curious. When Zhou Tongyu came last time, there was no great cultivator following him. Zhou Tongyu looked at Lu Lingjun and smiled. Brother Gu, it's been many years, and you have experts protecting you. It seems you have done quite well these years. Guwen smiled and asked, I wonder if Brother Zhou is here to participate in the Golden List tournament this time? Indeed, this time, I aim to take the top spot and become famous. What do you say, a spar at your Medicine Valley? Zhou Tongyu asked with burning eyes. Although it had been many years, Guwen's cultivation level was still mediocre, but he felt Guwen had his strengths. Guwen shook his head and said, Forget it, I won't ask for trouble now. Supreme Sect is full of geniuses these days, you should find someone else. I came early to visit after hearing of Enhao's fame. Since you are unwilling, I will go find Enhao now, Zhou Tongyu said laughingly. After speaking, he turned and left. Zhou Li in the Unification Realm 7th layer, smiled and nodded at Lu Lingjun, then followed Zhou Tongyu. After they had walked away, Lu Lingjun turned around and asked, A nascent soul realm cultivator wants to spar with you? Zhou Tongyu had already achieved the nascent soul realm and did not conceal his aura at all. At that time, he suppressed his cultivation level to spar with me, and I slightly had the upper hand, Guwen said, pretending to be proud. Lu Lingjun chuckled and said, I didn't think you had the skill. Indeed, appearances can be deceiving. After 5 years together, they were already familiar, lacking formalities. Of course, she still had grievances regarding LV Baishan's arrangements, so her attitude towards Guwen was not as respectful as before. What are you saying, am I not handsome? A bit handsome, good enough to be a cauldron for a female demon. Cough, cough, you are a female cultivator, please mind your words. Guwen gave Lu Lingjun a sidelong glance and then walked forward. Since Lu Lingjun was sent back, her temperament had changed, and Guwen felt awkward, knowing he was at fault, he could only compromise. Blame LV Baitian. What kind of arrangement was this? Guwen didn't need Lu Lingjun's protection. Fortunately, Lu Lingjun was also slack. The reason she came to the outer sect today was for her matter, and she just accompanied him. Lu Lingjun looked at Guwen's back, snorted, and then walked in another direction. Guwen prepared to visit Wuju. He found that there were many great cultivators in the city, most of them hiding their cultivation level. It seemed that the Golden List tournament would cause trouble. If the Supreme Sect succeeded, it would be easier to host such tournaments in the future, and other sects would not sit idly by. Guwen was not worried at all. Besides Xian Quan, another Supreme Elder had recently returned to the Supreme Sect, whose cultivation was slightly weaker than Xian Quan but still in the Mystic Heart Realm. With 2 Mystic Heart Realm Elders guarding, it would not be easy for other sects to shake Supreme Sect. In 30 minutes, Guwen arrived at Wuju's courtyard. Wuju was practicing punches in the yard, without mobilizing spiritual power, only practicing moves. Bare-chested, he looked very strong, and each punch could shake the space. Wuju, Foundation Establishment Realm, 9th layer 69/350/3500. His maximum lifespan had increased again. Guwen noticed that whenever he did not check on Wuju for more than 2 months, Wuju would gain enlightenment. In 1 year, he visited every month, but Wuju could not gain enlightenment. After enlightenment, Wuju emitted a solitary, lonely aura. This made Guwen have odd thoughts. Could it be that as long as Wuju is neglected, he will gain enlightenment? He decided not to check on him for the next year and see how far Wuju could gain enlightenment. Guwen hoped that Wuju would catch up with Enhao. This way, Enhao would have more rivals and not become overly arrogant. Smooth sailing was not always good. Seeing Guan, Wu Ju glanced at him without making a sound. "Look what good thing I brought you." Guan's voice came. Upon hearing, Wu Ju reluctantly walked towards Guan and asked, "What good thing?" Guan took out an invitation from his storage bag, with golden edges and a red background, engraved with 4 large characters. "Golden List Tournament." "How do you have this?" Wu Ju asked in surprise. The Golden List Tournament was not for everyone. Participants needed certain fame and had to pay 10 top-grade spirit stones for an invitation. The rewards for the Golden List Tournament were also very rich. The top 100 winners all received prizes, with higher ranks yielding better rewards. Wu Ju had naturally heard of it and envied those talents. Guan smiled proudly and said, "I put in a lot of effort. But with my cultivation level, it's useless to participate." Wu Ju shook his head. Guan comforted him, "Don't worry. The Golden List Tournament compares talent, not cultivation level. As long as your strength in the same realm is strong enough, you can stand out." "Really? Really?" Since he set the rules, how could it not be true? Guan thought to himself. Wu Ju lacked resources, staying hidden was not a solution. In reality, Wu Ju wanted to stand out but was too shy to ask for help. Wu Ju accepted the invitation, hugged Guan, patted him heavily on the back, and then grabbed his shoulders, saying, "Brother, I won't talk much, but I promise not to disgrace you." Having gained enlightenment several times, Wu Ju could feel his changes, developing confidence that was slowly altering his personality. Confidence of a strong person. Guan smiled and said, "There are still 5 years. You must focus on cultivation. I won't see you again for the next 5 years." Wu Ju was startled. "Why? What will keep you busy for 5 years?" "It's a sect matter, not convenient to discuss." Guan shook his head. Could it be because of this invitation? Wu Ju suddenly felt the Golden List Tournament invitation in his hand was heavy. He hesitated. Guan reminded, "Besides the Sunset Fist, don't forget to practice the Gale Shadowless Leg. It will make you faster." Wu Ju nodded heavily. This time at the Golden List Tournament, he swore to make a name for himself. At the end of summer, in Mystic Valley, Guan lay under a tree, one hand under his head, the other holding a book, reading with relish. A figure came before him, looking down at him. It was Li Ya. Li Ya still carried a heavy sword, wore a fitted black outfit, his long hair tied behind his head with a blue ribbon, revealing a determined and handsome face. "Cough, cough, junior brother Gu." Li Ya feigned a cough. "Supreme Secret Records?" He didn't expect junior brother Gu to read it too. Also, with the same name, he must feel immersed. Li Ya thought silently. Guan quickly stood up, putting the Supreme Secret Records into his bosom. He already sensed Li Ya's presence, but since Li Ya practiced an energy-concealing sorcery, he pretended not to know. "Senior brother Li, why are you here?" Guan asked, pretending to be pleasantly surprised. Li Ya replied, "I've been back for several years, planning to go to Cangzhou, then return to participate in the Golden List Tournament." Guan sighed. "So busy, senior brother Li, you must be very powerful now." Li Ya raised his chin, full of spirit. "Not very powerful, but getting the top 10 at the Golden List Tournament is not difficult. Deserving of senior brother Li, the pride of our Mystic Valley." "Indeed. Haven't you been injured over the years?" "Of course not. Since I parted ways with you, I haven't bled." "Your senior is not the same as before," Li Ya said seriously. Such a show-off. Guan wished Li Ya would call him Grand Ancestor. Li Ya took out 2 items from his storage bag, an invitation and a long wooden box. "This is an invitation to the Golden List Tournament. You should participate. This box contains 10,000-year wood spirit ginseng. With 5 years to digest it, your spiritual power can change dramatically, helping you achieve a good ranking," Li Ya explained. Guan was stunned. Li Ya directly put them in his arms, saying, "Don't refuse, or I'll be angry." After saying that, he let go, and Guan quickly caught them. Li Ya turned to leave. "Leaving already?" Guan quickly asked. Li Ya waved his hand. "Cultivating the path of immortality, no time for chit-chat. If you want to see me, perform well at the Golden List tournament. He leapt, turning into a sword light, flying across the mountains, disappearing without a trace. Guwen stared at the invitation in his hand, speechless for a long time. On the mountaintop, Chu Jingfeng turned his head, looking in the direction Li Ya disappeared, frowning. He remembered Li Ya. Back then, due to Li Ya's prince status, he even spoke a few words with him, encouraging him to practice diligently. After many years, their statuses and positions were vastly different, and he was not the sky. Guwen shook his head with a smile, then put the items into his storage bag. This guy always gave things when they met, seemingly knowing his personality, and always giving items that boosted cultivation levels and qualifications. Another year saw the arrival of the Spring Festival. After dusk, Mystic Valley was very lively. Guwen had just come from the Third Medicine Valley, sitting around a long table with the disciples. Zhen Qin sat on his right, continuously pouring wine for him and talking about matters in the immortal cultivation world. The hateful Heaven Divine sword appeared in the great Jiang dynasty nearby, turning the immortal cultivation world upside down. It said that the hateful Heaven Divine sword has reached the transformation realm and is accompanied by demons, very terrifying. I'm not sure if it's senior brother Su Han, Zhen Qin sighed towards the end. Talking about Su Han made her sad. They used to be so close, but now their paths diverged into good and evil. Guwen said, "He is no longer your senior brother. Don't call him that anymore to avoid trouble for you and us." Zhen Qin wanted to argue, but looking at the many disciples in Medicine Valley, she remained silent. Guwen began picking up food for her while watching the other disciples play drinking games. After a bowl of wine, Zhen Qin perked up and started talking about Hao. Mentioning Hao, her face filled with admiration, she spoke endlessly. Guwen listened attentively. Suddenly, he sensed something and his expression changed slightly. After Zhen Qin finished, he said, "I need to visit my room. You can continue later. I want to know about Hao and the specific grievances with the Wanyin sect demon." After speaking, he stood up and returned to his room. Zhen Qin was not puzzled, starting to toast with Lu Jiujia. Back in his room, Guwen activated the restrictions, then stepped 100 miles away. In the dark forest, there were 13 ghost-like figures moving forward. 4 of them carried a big coffin. They did not notice Guwen nearby, spying on them in the dark. A group of Unification Realm cultivators. Chapter 126. Immortal King Crown, Evil Emperor Guwen threw lifespan detection at the 13 figures in the forest one after another, and found that the cultivation levels of these 13 people were the same, all at the 3rd level of the Unification Realm, and their ages were also the same. They all had the surname Li. Guwen could not help but think of the 9 Nether 13 evil that had alarmed the immortal cultivation world before. What were these people doing at the Supreme Sect? There were still a few years left before the Golden List Conference. Seeing that they were not moving quickly, Guwen did not hurry to stop them, wanting to see what these guys were up to. That large coffin attracted Guwen's attention. His divine sense probed into the coffin and found a skeleton. The skeleton emitted a bizarre feeling, and there was a dark golden crown on its head. The crown's gemstones had disappeared, leaving several grooves, yet it still seemed extraordinary. About half an hour passed. 13 figures all stopped in unison. The leader, Li Shoyo, turned around and waved his hand. The 4 people carrying the large coffin followed suit and put it down, then began to open it. Just as the cover of the coffin was about to open, a hand suddenly pressed down on it. The 13 people all looked at the end of the coffin, only to see Guwen standing there, shrouded in dark purple demonic chi, his right hand pressing down on the coffin lid. The forest fell into silence. These 13 people did not run and did not attack. The other 12 all looked at Li Shoyo. Their entire bodies were pitch black, like ghostly shadows, their true appearances unclear and their emotions indiscernible. Li Shoyo nodded slightly, then knelt down. Seeing this, the other 12 followed suit and knelt down. The 9 Nether 13 evil pay respects to Sword Venerable Fudao. Li Shoyo said in a deep voice, not loud but clearly articulated. Guwen was surprised. Were these people specifically looking for him? No wonder their actions were strange, not like invaders. Guan spoke, "Give me a reason not to destroy you." These 13 should be ghost cultivators, shrouded in ghostly energy, but still possessing human chi blood and vitality. Li Shoyo answered, "We are the 9 Nether 13 evil, sent by the ghost mother of ephemera, to present the immortal king crown to Sword Venerable Fudao, to help the Venerable return to the position of land immortal." Ghost mother of ephemera? Guan was even more astonished. The cultivation level of the ghost mother of ephemera was even one small realm lower than the 9 Nether 13 evil. How could she command these people? Why? Guan asked. He did not sense any hostility from these 13, indicating they might not be lying. Li Shoyo responded, "This is the ghost mother's command." She has been comprehending your sword intent in the Supreme Sect for many years and discovered that you should have mastered the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword. This swordsmanship was promoted by the imperial family Li of the Taicang dynasty, but in fact, it was not created by the primordial ancestor of the Li family, but came from the immortal king of the ephemera sect, who is the ghost mother's ancestor. Because of this, the ghost mother came to the Taicang dynasty, intending to find the ancestor's inheritance before the ephemera sect annihilates the Taicang dynasty. 200 years ago, the ghost mother had come, but unfortunately, the descendants of the Li family were mediocre in talent, and no one could comprehend the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword, so the ghost mother could only lie dormant. Gu's Taicang Divine Shocking Sword did come from the Li family, but he did not expect the primordial ancestor of the Li family to be related to the ephemera sect. Does your ghost mother want to obtain the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword? Guan asked. Li Shoyo replied, "The ghost mother wants to invite you back to the ephemera sect, to use the sword intent of the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword to reclaim the position of sect hierarch of the ephemera sect." After hearing this, Guan fell into silence. What kind of scheme was this? Driving away the tiger to swallow the wolf? Guan pushed the coffin lid open with one hand, finding that the coffin was quite hard and concealed rich restrictions, probably also a magic artifact. His gaze fell on the skeleton in the coffin. Although it was lifeless, this skeleton was very sinister. To be safe, he still threw a lifespan detection at it. Evil Emperor, Mahayana Realm 5th Layer 7600/9999/9999. Good heavens. He could actually detect it, and its maximum lifespan was identical to an house. Guan's expression remained unchanged. He leaped up, landing on the edge of the coffin, overlooking the skeleton of the evil emperor. The 9 Nether 13 evil immediately knelt, remaining silent. Guan's eyes suddenly opened wide, and 2 cold lights shot out from his eyes. Boom! The skeleton of the evil emperor was instantly blasted into powder, turned into dust, leaving only the immortal king crown lying in the coffin, and the bottom of the coffin was also pierced by the breaking path divine light. The 9 Nether 13 evil raised their heads, glanced at it, and then lowered their heads again. A prompt appeared in front of Guan. You have successfully taken 320 years of lifespan from the evil emperor, Mahayana Realm 5th Layer. Guan immediately felt a sigh of relief. Damn it! Almost scared to death. Who would have thought that this skeleton was still alive, and with a Mahayana Realm 5th Layer cultivation level? In that instant, Guan imagined many possibilities in his mind, even feeling that he had resolved a catastrophe for all living things. After confirming that there were no surveillance or reverse tracking restrictions inside, he put it into his storage bag. He jumped down from the coffin, signaling the 9 Nether 13 evil to leave. The 9 Nether 13 evil all saluted him before lifting the coffin and leaving. Guan did not immediately return to the valley but instead sat cross-legged under the tree, placing the immortal king crown in front of him. According to Li Shoyo, tens of thousands of years ago, there was an immortal dynasty in the mortal world, where everyone could practice immortal cultivation. At that time, there was no emperor, and the ruler of the immortal dynasty called himself the Immortal King, ruling over land, immortals, and gods. Later, the immortal dynasty met with calamity, with continuous natural disasters, cultivators encountering heart demons one after another, plagues spreading, leading to its extinction in just 10 years. The immortal king survived, but the immortal dynasty no longer existed. He did not dare to call himself an immortal anymore, not challenging the heavens' might. In the following years, his descendants founded the ephemera sect, with one of the hierarchs creating the Taicang Divine shocking sword. The sword intent shocked the heavens, bringing about a heavenly tribulation, hence its name. This hierarch believed he had reached the realm of his ancestor the immortal king, but still could not achieve immortality. So, as his life was reaching its end, he forged the immortal king crown with his own cultivation. This crown contained the power of the immortal king. Successive hierarchs studied it but couldn't subjugate it, only bringing misfortune upon themselves. Groom used divine sense to probe the immortal king crown, but even with a Mahayana realm 9th layer's cultivation, he could not penetrate it. He dared not test it with his own sword intent. Even if Li Shoyo was telling the truth, this method might not be genuine. After all, no one had succeeded before. After much thought, Groom felt that this item was too dangerous to keep around. He stood up, used the limitless freedom step, and quickly arrived at the North Sea mountain. He dove directly to the bottom of the North Sea, buried the immortal king crown and the short flute in the seabed, and set restrictions on them. He planned to research them after breaking through several major levels in the future. After all, Groom did not need to rely on the power of the immortal king crown. After finishing everything, Groom quickly returned to Mystic Valley and continued celebrating with his disciples. After the 9 Nether 13 evil left, Groom's life returned to peace, and no one came to disturb him again. 3 years quickly passed. Groom reached 70 years of age. One day in Taicang Valley, Groom just finished picking medicinal herbs, feeling good, and personally took the herbs to the storehouse. As he exited the door, he saw LV Xian approaching. Seeing him, LV Xian's expression immediately became unnatural. Since being defeated by Groom, he had been cultivating madly, with his cultivation level soaring. Now, he had reached the 6th layer of the nascent soul realm. 99 years old and a 6th layer nascent soul. Very impressive. But LV Xian felt frustrated. Despite consuming so many elixirs, he still couldn't break through to the divinity transformation realm before 100 years old. Are you participating in the Golden List Conference? LV Xian asked as he drew near. Groom replied with a smile, "Why should I participate? My talent is so poor that attending would only bring embarrassment." LV Xian's mouth twitched. He took a deep breath and said, "I plan to participate. One night 3 years ago, I suddenly felt much less pressure. These past 3 years, I haven't been affected by heart demons or dreams. I might as well participate in the Golden List Conference to relax." Relax? Others were probably in for a tough time. Groom inwardly mocked, then sensed the residual soul aura within LV Xian. One residual soul was missing. Previously there were 7 souls, now only 6 remained. 3 years ago at night, Groom suddenly thought of something. Could it be that the evil emperor also left residual souls within LV Xian? This did not make sense. How could the evil emperor and LV Xian be related? The evil emperor was a long-dead hierarch of the ephemera sect, while LV Xian was the biological son of LV Baitin. Could LV Baitin have a connection with the ephemera sect? Chapter 127. Path of Returning Primordial Spirit. Completely becoming a dragon, Groom was merely puzzled and had no intention of investigating LV Baitin or LV Xian. No matter what these people's identities were, or what conspiracy they might have, as long as it didn't affect him, he couldn't be bothered to care. The hearts of the people in this world were unpredictable. To investigate each one would be exhausting. Groom and LV Xian started to chat idly. Now, LV Xian was very respectful towards him and didn't dare to be even a little frivolous. They chatted for quite a while before Groom finally left. Everyone in the valley was already used to him not spending the night in Taicang Valley. After Groom left, LV Xian found Yi Luyun and began to spar in combat, preparing for the golden ranking tournament. There were only 2 years left until the Golden Ranking Tournament. Years passed by, and the 9 Dynasties' lands welcomed peace, while the Supreme Sect's Golden Ranking Tournament drew the attention of people from all over the world, becoming a once-in-century grand event. 2 years later, as the Golden Ranking Tournament approached, cultivators could be seen soaring across the sky over Mystic Valley every day. Unlike before, the Supreme Sect dispatched many disciples to patrol and protect all outer sect servant disciples, maintaining their image as the true orthodox sect of the world. 72-year-old Groom was in the loft, receiving Yilan. The first batch of disciples who went to train on the 9 Nether Road had all returned and were all preparing to participate in the Golden Ranking Tournament to bring glory to the Supreme Sect. Having not seen each other for many years, Yilan's temperament had become even more outstanding, showing the demeanor of a genius female cultivator. She remembered Groom's words and had been continually cultivating Taoist expansion skill, so her cultivation level hadn't increased. The two sat and chatted, with Yilan recounting the wonders of the 9 Nether Road, and Groom listened with keen interest. The 9 Nether Road, which was said to be a road, was actually more like a secret realm, with demons and ghosts running rampant, having its own unique ecosystem and producing many special heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Yilan said that she also encountered cultivators and members of the demon clan not from the 9 Dynasties lands within the 9 Nether Road. From her descriptions, Groom envisioned many scenes in his mind and found them very interesting. After chatting for a full hour, Groom finally asked, "Will you be participating in the Golden Ranking Tournament?" Yilan nodded and said, "Yes, the elders gave me a post. All the 100 disciples from the 9 Nether Road must participate. The first Golden Ranking Tournament must be grand and cannot bring shame to the Supreme Sect." Groom blinked, feeling a bit helpless. Couldn't he send out the post he had in his hand? Shen Zhen, Gu Yu, and Zuolin all had posts, and the disciples in the valley had mediocre aptitudes. Participating would be futile and only lead to suffering. "Senior brother, why don't you participate too? Although your cultivation level isn't high, your strength is far from simple," Yilan said with a light laugh, remembering that Groom's leg technique was very strong. Since Groom's cultivation level hadn't increased, he must have spent most of his time practicing his leg technique, which made his strength undoubtedly formidable. Groom helplessly replied, "I can't even beat you. Participating in the Golden Ranking Tournament would just be asking for trouble." After hearing this, Yilan didn't persuade him any further and started chatting about the affairs of the immortal cultivation world. It wasn't until evening that Yilan left Mystic Valley. Groom stood on the balcony, a smile on his face. Yilan's maximum lifespan had increased by a year, though insignificant. It showed that the Taoist expansion skill was indeed somewhat effective. Chu Jingfeng, Lu Jiujia, and Xiaochuan's maximum lifespans hadn't increased, probably due to their level of dedication, and the spiritual energy of the 9 Nether Road was far richer than that of Medicine Valley. Groom turned around and went back indoors to continue his study of the Ziwei Array Chronicles. This book had deepened Groom's understanding of formations, bringing him closer to becoming a true Mahayana cultivator. Mahayana cultivators were not only accomplished in their cultivation but also had rich life experiences and knowledge in various supplementary paths. Groom didn't need to cultivate, so he could spend his time accumulating knowledge in other areas. That night, Groom sneaked to North Sea Mountain, hid under a tree, and opened the lifespan barrier, then invested 5,000 years of lifespan into the Taoist expansion skill. Since the Taoist expansion skill was useful, he thought he would enhance it and see what happened. A series of notifications appeared crazily before Groom's eyes, and eventually, the Taoist expansion skill advanced to the Taoist mystic skill. It only took 2,000 years of lifespan for the Taoist expansion skill to advance to the Taoist mystic skill, and the remaining 3,000 years were just for enhancing its proficiency. Groom immediately invested another 5,000 years of lifespan. This time, after cultivating for 2,000 years, the Taoist mystic skill advanced to the primordial reincarnation skill. It had primordial in its name so quickly, indicating that the Taoist expansion skill itself had a high rank and grade. No wonder only Yilan and Wuxin had mastered it so far. Afterward, the primordial reincarnation skill allowed him to master a divine skill called the path of returning primordial spirit. Guwen began to inherit the primordial reincarnation skill, and earth spirit energy surged into his body. A vast amount of memory flooded his mind. The primordial reincarnation skill contained the mysteries of the Taoist expansion skill and extended the profoundness of accumulating cultivation level to be passed on through lifetimes. After cultivating the primordial reincarnation skill, one's cultivation level would no longer increase. Instead, through accumulating spiritual power, one's aptitudes would transform. Unlike the Taoist expansion skill, it was no longer limited to one lifetime but could be repeated, and each time the accumulated cultivation level was greater, the transformation in aptitude would be more substantial. Moreover, the primordial reincarnation skill would form a soul imprint. After a cultivator's death and rebirth, the memory of the skill would awaken in adulthood in each lifetime, continuing to accumulate until reaching immortality or the soul's demise, where the path of reincarnation ceased. The path of returning primordial spirit was an extremely domineering sealing divine skill that could suppress a being's cultivation level to a certain realm or even completely seal them, turning them into a mortal spirit without any cultivation. This seal could only be unlocked using the path of returning primordial spirit. Even if powerful beings far surpassing Guan's capabilities tried to help, it would cause the spiritual power to run amok, making the sealed one's cultivation run wild and causing immediate death. Upon understanding this divine skill, Guan was very fond of it. He just happened to be lacking such a means. As for the primordial reincarnation skill, he considered it mastered, and he was not inclined to invest more time into it. He did not seek thousands of worlds, he only pursued this lifetime. But this skill could be taught to those he cared about. Through the memories of the primordial reincarnation skill, Guan learned a harsh truth. The 9 layers of immortal path, each layer harder than the last. The first layer was nirvana, a realm where mortal spirits transcended. Before reaching nirvana, lifespans could not exceed tens of thousands of years. Only after nirvana could one witness a fundamental transformation in life essence, drastically increasing lifespan. Guan suddenly realized that maximum lifespan might not just indicate aptitude but could also represent the maximum time each being had in this world, serving as a measure of one's life. For example, and Hao had nearly 10,000 years to pursue the nirvana realm, while Yi Lan had less than 200 years. The latter, even with multiple opportunities, would be in vain. The Taoist expansion skill could help Yi Lan extend her time in the world, but its effect was limited. Even if Yi Lan mastered the primordial reincarnation skill, her maximum lifespan would only increase several times at most. Guan slowly opened his eyes, his gaze deep. Heavenly Destiny. Summer arrived, and the Supreme Sect's Golden Ranking Tournament commenced as scheduled. Participants in the Golden Ranking Tournament were all cultivators under 500 years old, and the Supreme Sect would test the bone age of the participants specifically. The post Leia had given to Guan for the Golden Ranking Tournament, he wasn't sure who to give it to, and didn't want to waste it, so he chose to register himself. At 72 years of age, he successfully registered with the eligibility of youth. The Golden Ranking Tournament was conducted in a one-on-one format, with no fixed duration, continuing until completion. The Supreme Sect would heal the injured participants to keep them in optimal condition. Special formations would be set up by the Supreme Sect to suppress the higher cultivations to the level of their opponents, ensuring fairness in terms of realm. When the Golden Ranking Tournament began, Guan was watching from the eaves of the outer sect, sitting with Yi Lan. Between them was a small table, accompanied by spirit melons, spirit fruits, and fine wine. From their perspective, a gigantic light screen was suspended in the air above the outer sect, reflecting the scenes of the combats within. Guan didn't recognize the two cultivators fighting but enjoyed the spectacle nonetheless. As Yi Lan peeled some fruit for Guan, she said, "Senior brother, the cultivation technique you passed to me is very difficult, much harder than the previous one. I wonder when I'll be able to master it." Guan replied, "Cultivating is never easy. The Taoist expansion skill could at most double one's maximum lifespan, while the primordial reincarnation skill could increase it several times. If Yi Lan could master it, living to 800 years this lifetime wouldn't be impossible. For someone with Yi Lan's aptitude, this was already a great blessing. Yi Lan smiled and said, "I will definitely master it, don't worry." At this moment, a thunderous uproar rose in the city. It turned out that the first combat had already concluded. The victor is Duan Su from the Flame sect of the Great Zhao dynasty. Gu Zong's voice resounded from the giant light screen, causing the whole city to buzz with discussion. Yi Lan looked at the screen and smiled. "Impressive." Guwen nodded and then picked up his cup to drink. "Brother Gu." A voice came from the side. Guwen and Yi Lan turned to see Wu Ju standing on a distant rooftop, looking at them with a very unpleasant expression. 5 years had passed, and Wu Ju was still at the 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, but his chi blood was vastly different from before. Ignoring him for 5 years, his maximum lifespan must have skyrocketed, right? Guwen felt like he was about to open a mystery box. He cautiously used lifespan detection on him. Wu Ju, Foundation Establishment Realm, 9th layer, 74/350/7600, 7,600 years. Good grief. Now, he had truly become a dragon. Wu Ju suddenly appeared on the rooftop where Guwen and Yi Lan were, 7 steps away. He frowned and asked, "Who is this woman? Are you not being faithful to Miss Shin?" Upon hearing this, Yi Lan squinted her eyes at Guwen and asked, "Who is Miss Shin?" Guwen felt a headache coming on and immediately said, "This is my junior sister, Yi Lan. Miss Shin is nothing, how can she compare? I just have some dealings with Miss Shin, nothing more." Yi Lan's expression softened upon hearing this. Wu Ju angrily said, "Forget about Miss Shin, why didn't you come to see me after you were done?" Yi Lan was taken aback. She thought Wu Ju had something to do with Miss Shin and had come to stand up for her, but why did his tone suddenly change? Guwen shook his head and said, "Why are you shouting so loud? I didn't want to disturb your cultivation." "What, do you want to hit me?" Wu Ju's face turned red with anger, and he muttered, "How could I hit you?" Yi Lan sensed that Wu Ju was not simple, and looking at his embarrassed demeanor, she became more curious about his relationship with Guwen. Subsequently, Guwen invited Wu Ju to sit down. Although reluctant, Wu Ju sat on the other side of Guwen, "Junior sister, this is my brother, named Wu Ju, who is also participating in the Golden Ranking Tournament," Guwen introduced. Yi Lan nodded towards Wu Ju. Wu Ju scratched his head and said, "I can participate in the Golden Ranking Tournament thanks to Brother Gus' post." Yi Lan couldn't help but look at Guwen, her eyes filled with suspicion. Senior brother's methods were quite impressive. He registered himself, but he could also get a post for someone else. Chapter 128, 3 Pure Ones Mountain Divine Skills, so-called Fairness. Guwen, Yi Lan, and Wu Ju drank wine and ate fruit while enjoying the battles of the Golden List Tournament. In the previous days, they didn't have any matches, so they watched the excitement. Yi Lan and Wu Ju became familiar with each other, and Wu Ju was no longer so awkward. It wasn't until the 5th day that it was Wu Ju's turn to participate in a match. As he left, Yi Lan asked curiously, "Senior brother, whose disciple is he? He seems quite extraordinary." She was well-traveled and knowledgeable enough to recognize Wu Ju's remarkable nature. After multiple bouts of path enlightenment, Wu Ju's temperament had already transformed. Even with ordinary looks and attire, he exuded an unforgettable aura. His master died, and he has been an orphan since childhood. I befriended him immediately, and am his only friend. I didn't visit him for 5 years on purpose, which is why he's so angry." Guwen replied. After hearing this, Yi Lan felt a mix of pity and amusement for Wu Ju. She sighed, "Senior brother, you really are, what? Nothing." Yi Lan's gaze turned to the huge light screen in the sky, and Guwen followed her gaze. The 2 people fighting in the light screen were no ordinary individuals. One was a young Taoist in a green robe, and the other a man in battle armor wielding a long weapon. With one glance, Guwen could tell that both fighters' realms were higher than those before. The Taoist in green robes must be at the divinity transformation realm, while the man in battle armor was at the void crossing realm. Both were under 500 years old, making them top-notch talents. Surpassing the core formation realm couldn't be achieved by merely throwing resources at it. What was expected to be an exceptional battle ended abruptly when the green-robed Taoist raised a hand, formed a seal, and released a character radiating green light. It was a Dao character, 100 feet in both length and width, resembling a mountain, crashing into the armored man with incredible speed, causing him to cough blood and fly out, losing his combat ability directly. Even though the armored man was suppressed to the divinity transformation realm, losing so quickly still surprised Guan. From his perspective, the green-robed Taoist's Taoist seal already had the essence of divine skills. Defeating his opponent in one move drew raucous reactions from the entire city. The winner is Sage Xian Miao from Taicang Dynasty's Three Pure Ones Mountain. An elder's voice echoed from the light screen, ensuring everyone remembered the green-robed Taoist's name. Yi Lan sighed. Three Pure Ones Mountain is truly formidable. I've witnessed it before on the Nine Nether Road. It's Taicang Dynasty's primary sect, with few disciples, but each is powerful. It's said they once produced an immortal, though the truth is unknown. Guan silently noted the sect's name. Sage Xian Miao's Taoist seal was indeed powerful, enough to showcase the deep-rooted foundation of Three Pure Ones Mountain's Taoist tradition. An hour later. Finally, it was Wu Ju's turn to make a move. The battles at the Foundation establishment realm were not as exaggerated as those of Sage Xian Miao, so many were not very expectant. However, once Wu Ju threw a punch, the earth-shattering momentum immediately captured everyone's attention in the city. With each punch, it was like the sun bursting forth, the scorching fist wind making it hard for his opponent to counter. Each of Wu Ju's punches was full of power, extremely domineering. After 8 punches, his opponent was beaten to their knees, continuously coughing blood. The winner is Wu Ju from Supreme Sect of Taicang Dynasty. The city erupted in discussions, starting to talk about Wu Ju. Yi Lan was stunned. She knew Wu Ju was exceptional but didn't expect him to be this formidable. Guan watched with a smile on his face, aware that Wu Ju's legendary journey was about to begin. That sunset fist was quite ordinary, but Wu Ju practiced it to a level of transformation, even exhibiting signs of advancement. Path enlightenment seemed to enhance his understanding of fist techniques. In the afternoon, within the Third Medicine Valley, Guan and LV Batian met in a pavilion. After months, LV Batian looked pleased and exuberant. He opened his right hand, revealing a pearl in his palm, and smiled. This is a supreme-grade magic artifact, the Thousand Shadow Pearl. In the next 2 days, refine it, and then use it at the end of the month meeting. Guan accepted the Thousand Shadow Pearl, and smiling bitterly asked, "Do you still want me to keep winning?" In recent days, some cultivators in the Golden List tournament had won using magic artifacts. According to the rules, each cultivator could only bring 1 magic artifact or formation to maintain fairness. Sword cultivators, blade cultivators, array repairers, and others had to use magic artifacts. Banning them would be unfair. Even with only 1 magic artifact allowed, instances of cultivators winning using magic artifacts had already led to criticism in various cities. LV Batian laughed. "I've already planned your opponents and combat times. There's still time. I don't expect you to become world famous, but getting close to the top 500 would lay a solid foundation." With talents from 9 dynasties gathered, the top 500 were naturally extraordinary individuals. Guan had intended to just have fun, but he didn't expect LV Batian to play it this way. Sect leader, fairness, fairness. Don't forget these 2 words. Guan reminded helplessly. LV Batian's methods were never righteous. "Yes, I might attain enlightenment," Shenzhen said proudly, smiling. Such bragging! Guan started chatting with Shenzhen as they waited for his match. Suddenly, a woman teleported in, her aura catching Guan's attention. Ghost Mother of Ephemera. Why was she here again? Does she think there are no people in Supreme Sect? Coming and leaving as she pleases? Guwen thought to himself, though he didn't look at the ghost mother of ephemera. Although the ghost mother wanted to make him the sect hierarch, he still felt strongly against her. There was no helping it. She had even brought a void-crossing realm 5th layer evil creature before him. If he hadn't had lifespan detection, he wouldn't have noticed the evil emperor was not dead. Too dangerous. The ghost mother had transformed into another woman, seemingly using possession techniques. She also didn't pay attention to Guwen, possibly not even remembering him. Half an hour later, Xinzhen won her match and was teleported out of the valley. Guwen waited another hour for his turn. His opponent was weak, merely a core formation realm cultivator. Suppressed to the Foundation Establishment realm, Guwen acted through several moves before using the Thousand Shadow Pearl to defeat him. To the spectators, the fight was quite dull, with only a few remembering Guwen. Just like that, summer passed and autumn arrived. Guwen had 3 combat matches, winning narrowly each time. By now, there were still 1,000 participants remaining. Supreme Sect didn't mind the time at all. During this period, spirit stone profits in each city doubled, making a massive profit. After 3 months of combat, a batch of geniuses had already emerged, the most illustrious being Enhao, unparalleled. He hadn't even used the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword, but used spells learned from Supreme Sect to overpower all opponents. Following were LV Xian, Sage Xian Miao, and other talents from various dynasties. Every dynasty among the 9 had someone renowned in the Golden List tournament. Ji Xiaoyu hadn't participated, but other Ji family disciples performed strongly. The Golden List tournament had spread across the 9 dynasties, capturing the attention of cultivators worldwide, significantly boosting Supreme Sect's reputation among the other 8 dynasties. Within the Taicang dynasty, the sects from other 8 dynasties also became famous, probably one of the reasons for their response. For Guwen, the Golden List tournament was just a diversion, not caring much about the outcome. Initially finding it entertaining, his interest waned over time, leading him to focus on cultivation. On this day, a rumor spread before the Golden List tournament. Enhao versus Liya. Liya had also showcased his strength, proving himself, considered to have top 100 potential. Facing Enhao, who was assumed to claim the top spot, naturally drew much attention. Guwen, in the 3rd Medicine Valley, heard disciples flying overhead on their swords, shouting announcements, and became interested, heading to the Outer Gate City to watch. He noticed disciples flocking to the Outer Gate City from all directions, making him sigh. LV Baitin finally mastered the art of marketing. Guwen too was expectant. Who was stronger, Liya or Enhao? Both seemed to have lives like heavenly destiny protagonists, though with different trajectories. Enhao looked at Liya in astonishment, then followed with a wild smile. The battle light screen transmitted part of the battle pressure, allowing the spectators to know the fight was real. Once Liya's sword intent was released, the entire Supreme Sect was thrilled. This is the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. Liya has received the inheritance of Sword Venerable Fudao? I've stayed at the Heavenly Repair platform for days. This is definitely the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. Liya is so powerful, I didn't expect the strongest among the royal disciples to be him. He's much stronger than his sister Li Xuanyu. The city Guwen was also erupted in a thunderous uproar. Countless people were amazed by the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword unleashed by Liya. Wu Ju felt the sword intent and sighed, so powerful, I feel like it won't be easy to win against him. Guwen glanced at him. Just not easy? Entwined in the sword intent, Liya straightened, raising his sword to point at Enhao, his black hair fluttering and black robes rustling. His entire demeanor changed dramatically, his expression became more severe. The battle only truly begins now. Liya said coldly he didn't expect to be forced to use the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword so early, blaming his own bad luck for encountering Enhao prematurely. When he unleashed the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword, he felt the battle was over. Although En Hao had yet to unleash powerful spells, no spell could match the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword. En Hao's comprehension of sword intent was kept secret. Leah, who was often away, had no clue about En Hao's combat techniques. However, seeing En Hao smiling, Leah felt puzzled. This guy's gone mad? En Hao patted his robe, his smile growing. Boom! An overwhelming sword intent surpassed Li Yas, shaking the entire valley. Violent sword chi condensed into a giant face above En Hao, looking down at Li Ya. Before this giant sword chi face, Li Ya looked insignificant, his sword chi trivial. Impossible! How do you also know the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword? Li Ya shouted in disbelief. In the outer gate city, countless people gasped. Even En Hao had received the inheritance of sword venerable Fu Dao. The ghost mother of ephemera on the heavenly repair platform looked at the light screen in the sky, her brows furrowed, her eyes also showing shock. The Taicang Divine Shocking Sword, which had disappeared for thousands of years, reappeared in the mortal world, and 3 inheritors emerged at once? The ghost mother of ephemera, well aware of the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword's origins, was also taken aback, her respect for sword venerable Fu Dao growing. She could tell these two, wielding the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword, were certainly related to sword venerable Fu Dao. In the light screen, En Hao soared into the air, looking down on Li Ya, said with a smile, "Since we are from the same lineage, let's see whose sword intent is stronger." He raised his right hand, palm facing Li Ya, his smile fading. When Li Ya used the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword, En Hao felt a sense of kinship, recognizing Li Ya as a fellow disciple. But even among brothers, he would not hold back. En Hao was born to be the strongest. All opponents must submit at his feet. En Hao's eyes focused, the giant sword chi face's eyes widened, countless sword shadows shot out like a river of stars, unstoppable. Li Ya gripped his sword with both hands, slashing down with his strongest sword move. He gritted his teeth, his face twisted, and shouted in his heart, "I cannot lose." The two sword intents collided, sword light enveloping the whole city. Wu Ju's face was lit up by the sword light, he was stunned. "And how is so strong, am not a match," Wu Ju murmured. If his opponent was Li Ya, he might have some confidence, but En Hao's strength left him feeling hopeless. Gu En watched the battle with a blank expression. The progress of En Hao and Li Ya pleased him, but knowing Li Ya would soon be seriously injured dampened his mood. He even suspected LV Beiyin purposely orchestrated this, as LV Beiyin always disliked Li Xiandao, so he arranged for En Hao to target Li Zuando's favorite son? Regardless, Li Ya's journey ended here, not even breaking the top 500. After a few breaths, the sword's power dissipated. The ground shattered, Li Ya lay there covered in blood, his black robes torn apart, no strength left to stand up. The winner is En Hao from the Taicang dynasty's supreme sect. As the elder announced the result, the entire city burst with excitement, praising En Hao's might. Previously, En Hao had never displayed such powerful sword techniques but always defeated his enemies with ease. This time, everyone witnessed En Hao's sword chi and spiritual power, looking nothing like a core formation cultivator, more like a nascent soul cultivator. Gu En looked at Wu Ju and said, "If you face En Hao, do not confront him head-on." In the same realm, anyone facing En Hao would be eliminated. Even multiple path enlightenments couldn't help Wu Ju against him. Among all the participants, likely only Gu En could defeat En Hao, but he had no intention to, and LV Beiyin wouldn't allow it to happen. "You too," Wu Ju muttered. Gu En smiled, this kid was interesting. The news of En Hao receiving the inheritance of sword venerable Fu Dao spread like a whirlwind, sweeping across the immortal cultivation world. As for the defeated Li Ya, many thought he only comprehended the sword intent at the heavenly repair platform, and was not the true inheritor of sword venerable Fu Dao. Though both wielded the Taicang Divine Shocking Sword, his sword intent paled compared to En Hao's. En Hao's famed sword, while Li Ya was quickly forgotten. After his defeat, Li Ya did not seek out Gu En, likely recuperating and brooding in his cave. 10 days later, in Tianya Valley, Gu En met Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao waved at him from afar, and he immediately sat down beside him. LV Xian, Yi Luyun, and Luo Hun were also seated at the table. As Guan approached, Luo Hun thoughtfully gave up his seat. "How is Li Ya?" Li Xiandao asked with a smile, seemingly unconcerned about Li Ya's defeat. Guan noticed his cultivation level had increased to the 3rd layer of void-crossing realm. Honestly, Guan was quite interested to see Li Xiandao participate in the Golden List Conference. He believed Li Xiandao could make it to the top 10. Li Xiandao was not yet 300 years old, qualifying for the Golden List Conference. A void-crossing realm cultivator under 300 years was a rare talent worldwide. "Not sure, he didn't come to find me," Guan replied. Li Xiandao sighed. Losing to Hao is not shameful, and Hao's fame has spread to the other 8 dynasties. Everyone recognizes his talent. Setting aside strength, just by his advancement speed, Hao was unmatched. Jiang Qiong had reached the core formation at 40, thinking her talent supreme, but at 40, Hao could already form his nascent soul. The only reason he hadn't was because of the Golden List Conference. A 1st-layer nascent soul Hao facing a 9th-layer nascent soul top talent might win but would be exhausted, but dragging the opponent down to the 9th layer of core formation realm eliminated any suspense. Guan nodded. Hao is truly formidable. Senior brother Li just had bad luck. LV Xian snorted. "No worries, I'll avenge Li Ya." He had participated in 3 fights, no one had lasted 10 moves against him. Li Xiandao looked at Guan and said, "I've sent your disciple Yi Yan to cultivate at the 3 Pure Ones mountain of the Taicang dynasty. When he returns, he'll be transformed." Yi Yan? Guan thought of the disciple who held a spear all day, not expecting such an opportunity for him. Of course, he understood Li Xiandao was giving him a hint. Without his arrangement, Yi Yan would never have such a chance. "Thank you, uncle," Guan said immediately. Li Xiandao then said, "Do you think if I could enlist Sword Venerable Fu Dao, I could secure the throne?" Guan replied, "Without him, you can also secure it." Li Xiandao laughed. Yi Luyun and LV Xian didn't laugh, they agreed. Li Xiandao restrained his laugh and said, "I've found out who Sword Venerable Fu Dao is." Chapter 130 Breakthrough, Midnight Battle. Who is it? It was not Guan who asked, but LV Xian. Yi Luyun also looked at Li Xiandao with curiosity. Sword Venerable Fu Dao's reputation was too great, and some even considered him the #1 cultivator of the Taicang dynasty. Li Zuando's mouth curved up as he said, "He has a close relationship with Li Ya." Upon hearing this, Guan's heart trembled. How did he guess this far? LV Xian frowned tightly and asked, "Li Ya? What kind of relationship?" Li Xiandao shook his head and said, "I cannot divulge the specifics, lest we offend the elder." "Elder?" Guan let out a sigh of relief. Then, Li Xiandao began to discuss other talents who gained fame at the Golden List Grand Assembly. He highly praised the Supreme Sect for hosting the assembly, thinking that LV Baitin had become enlightened and was no longer as foolish and domineering as before. They chatted for an ancient hour before Li Xiandao finally released Guan to work. This time he had brought high-rank saplings, which greatly interested Guan. The grade and rank of the medicinal herbs in Tianya Valley were continuously improving, indirectly proving that Li Zuando's power was growing. Though the herbs in Tianya Valley belonged to Li Xiandao, Guan could harvest an endless stream of lifespan from them, so he hoped for Li Zuando's continual success. Yes, and also wished LV Baitin well so everyone could get along harmoniously. In immortal cultivation, temporary victories and defeats did not matter. The real winner was the one who lived the longest. In late autumn, Guan narrowly made it into the top 500 of the Golden List Grand Assembly with the help of the 1,000 Shadow Pearl. For the upcoming matches, he was prepared to lose. Although he repeatedly achieved victories, Guan did not build a reputation due to the difficulty of his wins, the unattractiveness of the battles, and the anonymity of his opponents. At noon in Mystic Valley, Guan was instructing Yi Lan in the primordial reincarnation skill. Yi Lan had already been eliminated but was not disheartened and was instead more determined. The two of them conversed for several ancient hours, during which Yi Lan's many questions about the primordial reincarnation skill were resolved. Senior brother, your achievement in this skill is really high. It seems you have been secretly practicing it diligently. No wonder your cultivation level hasn't increased, Yi Lan remarked with admiration. In her heart, she grew even more respectful of Sword Venerable Fu Dao, who was not only formidable in Sword Dao but also mastered such a miraculous skill. She now believed for sure that Sword Venerable Fu Dao was Gu En's mentor, as Gu En had taken the Qinghong sword to find Sword Venerable Fu Dao to save her. It seemed that in the Supreme Sect, even accepting disciples involved a consideration of interests. Of course, the main reason was that LV Beitin was not strong enough, at least not to the extent where he could suppress the three great families single-handedly. I plan to take action against the Li family, but rest assured, I won't harm Li Ya, LV Beitin continued. Hearing this, Gu En immediately raised his hand to salute him. LV Beitin waved his hand. After the Golden List Grand Assembly, the Supreme Sect will soar. However, potential crises remain, not to mention the Ephemera Sect main lineage on the other end of the Nine Nether Road. There are also those within the Nine Dynasties looking to scheme against the Supreme Sect. To avoid unnecessary trouble, I will visit your Medicine Valley less often. Do not indulge any further. Practice diligently, understand? He felt somewhat helpless as he spoke these last words. He had already passed on the Defying Fate Divine skill to Gu En but saw no significant results. Gu En nodded and said, I will manage Medicine Valley well and not disappoint the Supreme Sect. Hearing this, LV Beitin gave him a final glare before rising to leave. Gu En hurried to see him off. Heavy snow had already blanketed the third Medicine Valley, and the flying snow threatened to engulf everything. LV Beitin's figure soon vanished into the vast snow. Time flew by. Another Chinese New Year arrived, and the Golden List Grand Assembly concluded the day before Chinese New Year. In the evening, Gu En went to Mystic Valley to spend the festival with the disciples. Zhen Qin had just returned from the Outer Sect and was discussing the Golden List Grand Assembly rankings with the disciples. After the assembly, the Supreme Sect would publish a book recording the life stories of the top 100, symbolizing authority in a way. Winning first place was An Hao, without any suspense. The second place was not LV Xian but Sage Xian Miao from Three Pure Ones Mountain. The duel between Sage Xian Miao and An Hao had become legendary, and the name of Three Pure Ones Mountain reverberated throughout the Taicang dynasty. LV Xian ranked third and was likely depressed. The rest were mostly aristocratic geniuses, with the Zhou, Gu, and Ji families occupying 30% of the top 100. The dominance of the three great families was evident. Wu Ju, with his foundation establishment realm, made it into the top 20 but was severely defeated by An Hao when they met, although he had proven himself and became a bona fide genius. Sitting down, Gu En listened to the disciples excitedly discuss the Golden List Grand Assembly, showing an interested look. The disciples also flattered him, feeling honored that he made it into the top 500. Master, I have to go out on a mission tomorrow. It might take 2 or 3 years before I return. Zhen Qin, sitting beside Gu En, spoke while Gu En's thoughts drifted away. Just as Gu En thought Sage Xian Miao was doomed, he sensed something and raised an eyebrow. In the forest where Sage Xian Miao had fallen, a strong wind arose, uprooting trees and sending them into the night sky. Sage Xian Miao sat in the ruins, surrounded by azure runes. These runes emitted beams of azure light, which gathered above him to form a grand door. The door slowly opened, releasing a desolate aura that caused the void-crossing realm great cultivator's face to change drastically as he turned to flee. Where are you running? An ancient voice echoed across the heavens and earth. Chapter 132 Mountain God, Ill-fated relationship. Guan heard Sage Xian Miao's muttering, which left him silent. Did he come seeking fortune and find my home? His gaze fell on the compass in Sage Xian Miao's hand, curious about what kind of treasure could locate fortune, far surpassing his white spirit rat. Since the appearance of the mystic pure tree, the white spirit rat had been napping all day, no longer venturing out to search for treasures, essentially becoming useless. The forest in the deep night was eerie and quiet, with a faint mist swirling among the woods. Although Sage Xian Miao could see the shadows of ghosts drifting by, he remained unmoved. Whoosh, a gust of wind blew from the front, causing Sage Xian Miao's robes to flutter, making him squint. The land of the mountain god, mortals are forbidden to enter. A mysterious and ethereal voice emerged, causing Sage Xian Miao to halt his steps. He looked around, unable to detect the speaker's presence, not even with his divine sense. Sage Xian Miao was certain he hadn't misheard, so he cupped his hands and said, "This humble Taoist hails from Three Pure Ones Mountain of the Taicang Dynasty, a sole disciple of the Taicang lineage, Li Xuan Miao." Li Xuan Miao, Li Xian Dao, Guan wouldn't believe they were unrelated even if beaten to death. The name, Three Pure Ones, also made Guan think of the Three Pure Ones in Wuxia's Taoist myths from his previous life, wondering if there was any connection. It should be unrelated, otherwise, writing Investiture of the Gods would have already caused trouble. Perhaps the Tao of the Three Pure Ones illuminates myriad heavens, showing signs of Three Pure Ones in both this world and the Huaxia world? Gu and his thoughts raced, not answering immediately. Sage Xian Miao continued, "This humble Taoist seeks fortune, wondering if I might have the honor of meeting the mountain god?" He didn't seem to doubt Guan's words, making Guan ponder. Could mountain gods truly exist, making Sage Xian Miao find it unsurprising? This made Guan suddenly want to get to know Sage Xian Miao, to increase his understanding of this world. Why seek the mountain god? Guan's voice echoed again, its source still elusive. Sage Xian Miao replied, "Mortal immortals and gods are elusive. If I could meet one, it would be Live's fortune." Of course, this humble Taoist also has a personal desire. Meeting the mountain god pleased him greatly, more meaningful than finding a treasure. With his cultivation at the divinity transformation stage, he scanned all directions, unable to find the other party, indicating their cultivation level was vastly superior, whether or not they were a mountain god. The fact that the other party didn't attack him directly suggested they weren't a great evildoer. If you could become the world's strongest, you wouldn't seek me. Since you can't become the world's strongest, your everything couldn't match its value, Guan said indifferently. Sage Xian Miao looked troubled, but hope ignited in his heart. The mountain god hadn't refused him. He had only intended to probe, not expecting a real chance. Indeed, no disciple of Three Pure Ones Mountain had ever encountered a land immortal. It showed how rare immortals and gods were. Sage Xian Miao said earnestly, "Please enlighten me, mountain god. As long as it's within my power and doesn't violate the principles of Three Pure Ones Mountain, I will definitely comply." Guan feigned deep contemplation, arms crossed, and after a while, he suddenly said, "I have it. The divine skill you used to summon mystic heart realm cultivators before, exchange it with me." Sage Xian Miao's face changed dramatically. His respect for the mountain god deepened. The mountain god could discern even his backer's realm, demonstrating the mountain god's high Tao level. And the battle had taken place far from here. Sage Xian Miao hurriedly said, "This divine skill is called Divine Reaching Mystic Gate. It can only summon others and won't harm beings. I'm willing to exchange it with you, mountain god." As he spoke, he took out a scroll from his sleeve, raising it with both hands. Guan lifted a hand, capturing the scroll. After a brief scan with his divine sense, confirming its authenticity, he waved his right hand. A book swiftly landed before Sage Xian Miao. The 9 Extremes Yin-Yang Body. Sage Xian Miao's eyes lit up on seeing those 5 words. Guan would eventually cultivate the 9 Extremes Yin-Yang Body, so he didn't mind teaching it. Moreover, this technique originated from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. He wanted to see how many years it would take Sage Shen Miao, with his talent, to master the 9 extremes yin-yang body. Sage Shen Miao picked up the secret book, began reading, while Guan wasn't in a hurry, putting away the divine-reaching Mystic Gate scroll into his storage bag. After reading for a while, Sage Shen Miao's hands trembled. He suddenly closed the book, tucked it away, and then took out wooden boxes from his storage ring, a total of 7. He said, "This ultimate skill is stronger than divine-reaching Mystic Gate. I can't take advantage of you. These are seeds of 7th grade heavenly materials and earthly treasures, gifts from various dynasties to me. I intended to use them to enhance my cave, but now I offer them to you. Consider it." Gu An's impression of Sage Shen Miao improved. He lifted a hand, the 7 wooden boxes adhering to the tree trunk beside him, saying, "You may leave now." Sage Shen Miao immediately kowtowed, making the fox demon boy kowtow as well, and then led him away without lingering. Guan watched their departing figures, silently lamenting, "What a fateful encounter." The higher Gu An's cultivation level, the more beneficial it would be for her grand plan. Even if it's not bad, I am definitely not a genius. I made it to the list relying on magic artifacts. Don't try to persuade me. Strenuous cultivation, even if it allows me to live for 700 or 800 years, still takes up most of my life's time on cultivation. Why not just enjoy life directly? Not cultivating is about avoiding detours. My talents are not as great as yours. Guan argued confidently, though for some reason, Lu Lingjun felt a trace of sadness. As an ascender, she had indeed seen many who spent their entire lives but could not escape destiny. How many people had cultivated arduously all their lives, only to die in tribulation, in feuds, or from inner demons? Even for herself, recalling carefully, did she have as many happy moments in her life as the person before her? At this moment, Gu An's image in Lu Lingjun's mind shifted. Although Guan had a low cultivation level, he had a kind of broad-mindedness and life perspective that was beyond the grasp of ordinary people. Lu Lingjun caught up with Guan's steps and asked, "Valley Master, do you think I should learn from you?" "Learn from me? What a joke. Your realm has already proven your talent. In this world, life is about striving. Since my aptitude isn't good, I strive for the depth of life. With your outstanding talent, you should pursue the length of life." Guan said casually. He wouldn't let others follow his path, as he could seize lifespan but others couldn't. His statement was just to hide his true strength, not to guide others. After hearing this, Lu Lingjun admired Guan even more. The two continued chatting while heading to the pavilion area. It wasn't until the evening that Guan arrived at the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. Half a month had passed since he exchanged divine skills with Sage Shen Miao. Guan planted the 7 7th grade treasures from Sage Shen Miao in the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. He wasn't afraid of this cave mansion being exposed. Even if it was, he could move it. He could use the Great and Minor Rui to shrink the entire mountain and then move it. Because these 7 seeds were of high grade, he would visit every other day, afraid that they might grow askew or conflict with each other. After careful inspection, making sure there were no problems, Guan smiled. Currently, he was harvesting lifespan all year round, so traveling back and forth wasn't tiring for him but full of interest. When the next breakthrough came, he planned to open another cave mansion in a different place, get some people to help him manage the new mansion, while he focused on harvesting. The people managing the cave mansion needed to be able to endure loneliness. But that was a matter for the future. He walked to the wooden house, took out the Ziwei Array Chronicles and a pile of formation materials, and began trying to set up formations. "Your cultivation level and temperament are not enough yet," Sage Shen Miao answered casually. After thinking for a while, he gave the young fox demon a reminder, then left the temple. Moonlight filtered through the tree branches, illuminating the young fox demon. He watched the direction Sage Xian Miao left, his previously innocent face gradually becoming stern, eyes gleaming with cold light. Mountain God. In the mystic heaven cave mansion, Guan put down his brush and talisman paper, his expression serious. Underworld Fox Demon has developed hostility towards you and is apprehensive of your strength. Do you want to cast lifespan detection on them? Apprehensive? What level of hostility does this constitute? Should I kill them? Thinking of the Underworld Fox Demon's maximum lifespan of 14,000 years made him uneasy. Although demons have a much longer maximum lifespan compared to humans of the same realm, anyone who lives beyond 10,000 years is a formidable great demon. Guan looked up, using his divine sense to see Sage Xian Miao approaching him. Better to meet Sage Xian Miao first. After the time of one incense stick, Sage Xian Miao arrived in the forest. He knelt on the ground and called out loudly, "Pindao has matters to seek audience with the mountain god." As the words fell, the mountain god appeared out of nowhere on a branch not far away, without any indication, making Sage Xian Miao secretly admire the mountain god's vast divine skills. Before Guan could speak, Sage Xian Miao took out the compass, casting spells and explaining his disciple's dream. Once the compass reenacted the dream, Sage Xian Miao continued, "The North Sea appeared in the dream, which might signify a calamity for the North Sea." Guan silently thought it was troublesome. It's again the ephemera sect. The tree in the dream was the ephemera tree, indicating that the ephemera sect main lineage was preparing to launch a full-scale attack on the 9 Dynasties region. How many ephemera trees are there? Guan felt an urge to eradicate the ephemera sect completely to avoid them disrupting his farming. However, before that, Guan planned to give the Underworld Fox Demon a bit of trouble. Your disciple is not simple. Whether it is a blessing or a curse, it is hard to say. Guan said leisurely. Upon hearing this, Sage Xian Miao's expression changed dramatically. It seemed he remembered something, and cold sweat began to form on his forehead. This reaction surprised Guan. Does my word carry that much weight? Sage Xian Miao remembered what his master had said to him. Xian Miao, you will face 9 tribulations in your life. Each tribulation is a life or death situation, stemming from your interactions with the secular world. You can't avoid them, you can't escape them. Surviving the tribulations will lead to nirvana. He looked at Guan again, his eyes filled with respect. As expected of the mountain god, capable of seeing through fate and cause and effect. He took a deep breath, stood up slowly, and then bowed to Guan, saying, "Thank you for the mountain god's guidance. I will be cautious." After speaking, he turned and left. Guan tilted his head, showing a confused expression under his opera mask. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.